This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in.
Yeah. You froze, Phil.
Phil.
Yo, you froze, Phil.
Perfect timing, right?
Word.
Welcome, everyone, to Knicks Nightcap. I'm Apollo. We got Al. Usually we don't do the intro, so we freestyling right now.
Yo, that was crazy.
There we go.
Oh, we got double Phil. Let's go.
In another video. Like, so weird. Yo, sometimes StreamYard is the greatest thing in the world, and sometimes it's the bane of my existence.
Absolutely.
Like, absolutely hate it at times. So, anyway, I'm back. This is your boy Phil Porto, aka Phil All Caps, Knicks Nightcap. That's the spirit, whatever you want to call me. And I am here with my guys, Al and Apollo. And we got a lot to talk about, guys, because it's been a crazy few days in Knicks land. From the last time we chopped it up last week was after game 2, before game 3. We had just lost one in the Garden, and we were all giving our predictions. And I remember a lot of people in the chat were kind of coming at me for saying that it would be Knicks in 6 and that we would lose one in the Garden. And I specifically said that I believed it would be the first one. That we would lose one in Atlanta. And I remember specifically saying that was Wednesday and we were playing Thursday. I said that I thought that we would lose because they had momentum from the game in MSG. They were on a high that they stole one from us. And if they're going to win one in Atlanta, it's going to be on that high. And then we're going to have to make adjustments. And we ended up losing that game. It was another CJ McCollum clinic where he just picked us apart line for line. Their offense was far superior to ours. So what was your guys' thoughts on that loss? Like, what? Because I know on Knicks Twitter, people were burning bridges. Like, we're not it. We're done. We suck. Like, we just lost another one. We're out. We thought it was Knicks in 6. Now it's going to be Hawks in 7. And I'm like, dang, fan base jumped ship quick. But even all of us, we had some of our concerns that if certain things didn't change, that it was going to be a rude awakening for us. So, Apollo, what were your thoughts after that game?
I was not encouraged at all. I'll tell you that.
Wait, are you talking about game 2 or game 3?
Game 3. We talked after game 2.
Yeah, after the first loss, we talked. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I said game 3 that we would lose in Atlanta.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of expected them to have a little bit of a roll still going from the first loss, in which they did that in Atlanta. The crowd was into it, and they got off another one. And there was some plays down the stretch that I think we could have made, right? And I think that it's a 1-point game, another 1-point loss. So I think there were some plays down the stretch that we could have absolutely made that could have changed the outcome, but guys weren't on the same page. Guys weren't connected. Certain guys were just floating around after picks instead of, really putting themselves in a certain position. So, it was frustrating to watch that, especially to lose in Atlanta. But, and then to go down 2-1. But, I still felt like we could win this series, but I started to not care if we lost because I didn't want to be disappointed.
Yeah. And it was frustrating because you get your teeth kicked in, you're like, dang, we sucked, but to lose 2 back-to-backs by 1 point was super, super annoying because we could have won both of those games. But Al, what are your thoughts before I give mine?
Well, if you guys remember, I was like shaking in my boots for that game. And that was the one that I was like, well, maybe I'm not shaking in my boots. And you were like, are you shaking in your Jordans?
Yeah.
But I was afraid that we were going to lose that game because first of all, like I just looked at the Vegas spread and the spread had us at 1.5 point underdogs, and I just thought the general public was going to be betting the Knicks heavy, and that's usually when Vegas makes their money. So I'm like, dang, this is set up for Vegas to make money, and then that means the Knicks are going to lose. So that's what really had me concerned. But also at the in game two, we dominated game two for the first 3 quarters. Like Jalen Johnson was in jail, he wasn't doing anything, and Nah wasn't doing anything. So I'm just like, they still managed to sneak out that win, and that was in Madison Square Garden. And now they're gonna go home to Atlanta. And when you go play at home, that's when the role players start to make their shots all of a sudden. Like they don't make them on the road in the playoffs, but when you go home, those threes start falling, your shots start going in. And I'm like, man, they just stole a game from us without playing their best ball. And we're probably going to get their best punch in game three. So I was bracing for the L, bro. So I kind of was bracing for it. I just didn't realize that Mikal Bridges was going to have zero. This is the Mikal Bridges zero game. That's the only thing that I didn't see coming. Shame on me. Maybe I should have saw that coming. But this is the Mikal Bridges zero game. That's how I'm gonna remember it.
Yeah. You know, what was crazy about that game is, McCollum still did his thing, but that was kind of like the awakening of Kaminga. Like offensively. He had been giving Cat some frustrations, but that was the game where he also went off. He had 20, 21 in 28 minutes, shooting 64% from the field. And like you said, Johnson, wasn't thriving in the previous games, but in that game, he started putting up buckets. And it was just like everything started to click for them in that game. And so that was kind of frustrating. And when it comes to the rebound game, it was pretty dead even. And I talk about that now because when we talk about the next 2 games and you see how that changes, it drastically changes how Atlanta can play the rebound game. For us, that was a great game by OG Anunoby. OG had 29. He had 50% from 3, 9 rebounds, a steal, an assist, and 3 blocks. Like that was to me the OG Anunoby game of the series. And we kind of blew it. We kind of blew it. You have one of your guys, who is probably not going to be the star-studded performance in most of the games in this series. And yet he has a star-studded offensive night and you blow it. Like that is one of those games where you have to keep your foot on their neck because you're getting production offensively in a great magnitude that you normally don't. So that was a wasted opportunity and was really, really frustrating because the main thing that we talked about is there had to be adjustments. Like Mike Brown needed to make some adjustments. And that started to be the kind of talk of the town is if we actually lose in the first round of the playoffs, like how quick is Mike Brown out of here? And I was just like, it's not even how quick. It's like, did you see how quick that was? Like, it would be surprising, like Guinness Book of World Records kind of firings, And so that was the talk of it. And then we go back to Atlanta. And this is where it starts to get exciting because things completely changed. So what I want to do in this one, and I'm going to see if my guy Tone is in the building because Tone said he wanted to come up. And if Tone is here, because I'm not seeing the chat, StreamYard's doing one of those things where I can't see anything in the chat at all.
Yeah. Same.
So I don't know,
Same.
I don't know what's going on with StreamYard today. But we get that sometimes. So if anyone's chopping it up in the chat, we apologize. Sometimes it kicks back in throughout the episode and then we can start chopping it up with everybody. But I have no clue what's going on with StreamYard right now. But let's talk about the switch that we end up seeing. And I want to do this one a little bit different because in game 4, we end up destroying them 114-98. Game 5, 126-97. So I want to talk about key factors. Hey, chat's starting to work a little bit. My
Yep.
girl Ebony's up in here. Ebony, if you are
Peace,
free,
peace,
come on up, speak,
What up, Ed?
talk your talk.
peace.
You know, you are always welcome. I'm gonna put the open panel link in here so when Tone gets in here as well, he can see it. But what I want to do is I want to talk about topics that I believe were the big changes for this series and us moving forward in the playoffs. So the first key factor I want us to talk about was the defensive pressure, because our defensive pressure in game 4 and game 5 looked drastically different than it did even in the first game that we won of the series. Our defense in that game just stepped it up. From good defense, it led to us playing in transition, which made it a lot harder for the Hawks because they're not used to us playing in transition. They're used to playing half court basketball against us. So it kept the Hawks from actually being able to settle, because once you get guys like Dyson Daniels and friggin' Johnson and Okongwu and Alexander Walker, when you get those guys actually like set and give them time to play D, they are a lot harder to score against than when you go into transition or you're moving fast paced. So from that defense that we played, it led to transition offense. The Knicks ramped up ball pressure, and we like helped each other earlier on drives instead of waiting till it was a little too late to try to be the assisting, teammate. We were constantly figuring out what the next move was. We neutralized CJ McCollum, especially in game 5. I think he had 6 points. So he went from 25, 26, 29 to 6 points. Jalen Johnson was forced into really tough looks. So that is incredible to see. Their shooters were late. Like, they were constantly late in rhythm. So going up against the shot clock, you saw some shot clock violations by them as well. And then last, the defense was so good by the Knicks that they relied on Dyson Daniels in some of those games to shoot 3-pointers. That's when you know your defense is locked down on everybody else, when you're thinking that your 19% on the season shooter is going to give you offense because the rest of your guys can't. So we caused them to shoot poorly from 3 from both games. So what stood out to you guys in the defense? Like, what players really stuck out to you in those 2 games of making an impact for the Knicks defensively? I'll go with you first, Al.
Well, the first thing that stood out right away was the adjustment. We took Brunson off of CJ McCollum, and that he was just getting flambéed in the first 3 games by CJ. He had CJ looking greater than MJ. He was looking like he was Jordan out there.
Right.
So that was the first and foremost adjustment we needed to make. It was great to see. I think OG has been, arguably, if it wasn't for Cat, OG is arguably our best player in this series, because he has had Jalen Johnson in absolute jail. So he's been great. And what the other thing that I noticed is we won the turnover battle that game. They had 19 turnovers, we had 15. So like you said, the defensive pressure increased. And when you put the pressure on these guys, remember, they're a little bit of a younger team outside of CJ.
Yeah.
They start to turn the ball over, it turns into easy points. And that's really how we ran away with the game. So those are like the biggest observations that I have from that game in particular when it comes to the defensive end.
Yeah. All right. What are your thoughts on the defensive end, Apollo?
I think it's as they should have done from the beginning. They should have had Brunson on Dyson Daniels, put the pressure on him to, make a play.
Yeah.
That should have been the plan from the beginning. You know what I mean? I just think that you put the ball in the weakest player's hand. They do it with us, with Josh Hart. Sometimes they try to make him the shooter sometimes. And, sometimes he still takes a shot. And that's what makes Josh, an incredible teammate, because he's not going to freeze your team out by not taking that shot. He did it before in the past. But he's definitely fixed that. But Dyson Daniel, you see in even last night's game, Dyson kind of understood that he had to start to make plays. So he started to play a little bit more aggressive. But that's what you have to do. Just how you defend that team. That's the only way you're gonna really get the dubs. You can't put Jalen on CJ McCollum. Like, he's gonna chop him up. Even in that game that we won, the first game, he was on CJ for the first half. And I don't know why he kept him on there. And then they made the change in the second half, and that's when things took off. So I think that's personally what they have to do. They got to make sure that they limit what they're good at, and make Kuminga a shooter, and I kind of figured he wasn't going to shoot the way he did in the first game in Atlanta. Anyway, because that's not the kind of player he is, you know what I'm saying? So, shout out Jay Boogie, shout out. But yeah, so I think that coach made the right adjustments, because we were at coach's head. We were at coach's head, and still, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not off the hook yet, but he made the right adjustments, and for the next two games, and they did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah. Shout out to our guy Jay Boogie in the chat. Appreciate you coming through, Jay. Always good to hear from you. Shout out to you. Shout out to all the music you're putting out. Looking forward to seeing it. But here's one thing I do want to give credit where it's due, because we were coming at his neck like, yo, you better make some changes. But he made changes, and they were changes that worked. They worked so well that we even saw Kolek and Hukporti minutes at the end of that game, which is impressive in a playoff game against a team that just beat us twice in a row. But I also think that there's two sides of the coin. Like, we can look and go, Brunson should have been on Daniels from the get-go. But I know a huge portion of Knicks Twitter, Knicks Facebook, Knicks Instagram, Knicks fandom in general would have crucified Mike Brown if he started Jalen Brunson on Dyson Daniels in the beginning of the series, and Brunson was getting shot over because he's so small. They would have been like, how does he not see the height differential? How does he not, realize? So I feel like when it came to, the who Brunson was guarding situation, I think that was going to be a lose-lose for him no matter what. Like, I really think it was going to be a lose-lose for, I don't know what's going on here with camera, for Mike Brown when it comes to who Jalen Brunson was guarding.
Going into the series, I was okay with Brunson getting the CJ assignment. CJ really didn't have that great of a year, man. Like, first of all, he was a throw-in in the trade to Atlanta. Atlanta didn't even really want him. Like, I think when he got to Atlanta, he was coming off the bench. Like, he wasn't even really in the rotation until later down the road in the season. So, look, in my opinion, I was okay with the way that games 1 and 2 unfolded, and I got crucified in my other Knicks group chat for doing this, but I was like, yo, CJ is not gonna win them a playoff game. Like, I don't care if CJ's cooking Brunson, like, he's not gonna win them a game. And then he won him game 2, and I was like, dang. And then he cooked them again in game 3, and I was like, okay, well, we gotta put a stop to this.
Yeah. And
but
so
I was okay with it at first.
Exactly. So shout out to Mike Brown for seeing, kind of like you did, I thought this was going to be okay, but it's allowing this player to become something that he's not, and so he made that transition, and it was a great transition. Like, it actually kept everything at bay, and CJ McCollum failed in game 4, so that was exciting to see. Few things I want to point out is, though OG had the best, scoring night, I have to give, I'll toss it around first. My player of the game.
Can I get one more point before we move? I did want to say another adjustment he made was taking Landry Shamit's minutes and turning them all the way down. Because I think that adjustment alone made it first of all, we were undersized, like, tremendously. So to have you got to play Deuce, you got to play Brunson, you know what I mean, and then you got to play Alvarado. So I think it stops there. You know what I mean? Like, it stops there, especially on this team. So unfortunately, Shaman had to get his minutes cut, but it ended up working because they were taking advantage of the size.
And we're going to talk about rotations because I think that was an also integral part to what won us these two games. But my player of that first game had to be Cat. And the reason it was Big Bodega is not because of his scoring, but the scoring efficiency. Because he only scored 1 point more than Brunson that game, but he shot 60% from the field as opposed to Jalen Brunson shooting 38.9% from the field. Like, that's drastic number difference for the amount of production. And Cat, also had a big night. He was tied for second most rebounds. Him and OG both had 10. But then Cat also had 10 assists and 2 steals. Like, we were running the offense through Cat a lot that game. Like, especially the Brunson on the bench minutes while Cat was playing. Those were some of the best minutes of the game. Like, I know some people are going to crucify me for that, but some of the best minutes in that game were Jalen Brunson on the bench minutes and the offense running through Karl Anthony Towns. Like, bearer of bad news, maybe, but it is what it is. So shout out also to Alvarado. He came in, and within his 13 minutes, he got 3 steals and 2 assists. Like, that's productivity right there, as well as 6 points, and Clarkson with some points off the bench. So I thought overall that was a great game for everybody except for Mikal Bridges. And it wasn't a great game for Hart, but at least Hart had 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Like, he still produced for us. That's the kind of stuff we need from him. So real quick before we continue, shout out to Carbon Intellect in the chat. Said, let's get that chip. Shout out right here to Richard Green. Appreciate you being in the building, my guy.
Peace, Cuzzo. Peace, Cuzzo.
Everybody being here. But let's talk about the next point, because I think that we'll have a little more to talk about for that game and the next game when we go into point 2 of what I think led to our change. Rebounds became extremely lopsided. Not so much in that first game. We beat them 38-43. But in that second game, they had 27 rebounds and we had 48 rebounds. Almost 20 rebounds more than them, which meant that the Hawks had fewer transition chances, which is how they smoked us in those 2 games, was transition, getting McCollum open and him hitting the 3, because we weren't great in transition stopping the 3. And so it stopped that. It stopped them pushing it, and it made them have to have all contested shots. And so our rebounding played a huge factor. So what are you seeing from our guys in these last 2 games? Like I just told you, OG and Cat both had 10 in that first game. In that second game, OG another 10, Karl another 14, Mitchell Robinson 6, McBride 3, Jalen even with 3 rebounds, Hart with 5. So what were you seeing different in us on the offensive end and leading to productivity on our end and lack of productivity on theirs? I'll let you go first, Apollo.
They were taking advantage of the size. They know that, especially at the front line, these guys, they don't have the size to compete with Cat, Mitch, even OG. I got a shout out to OG because for a while, even State, shout out to State, he used to say all the time, OG don't get no rebounds. Not no more, man. He's been hunting those rebounds. He gets into the paint, he goes straight up. Like he's been a completely different player offensively. But being able to get those rebounds to help out, especially because now he's playing the bigger positions. If you're gonna play 4, you got to get in there, you got to bang and get those rebounds. Yep. So shout out to OG for that. And it's just, to be honest with you, they understand that they can out rebound this team easily, especially without I think his name is Jacques Londell or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
If he's not there, man, you guys have the size, and Mitch, for the limited minutes that he's playing, he's making it known that you're not going to be grabbing rebounds. He's 15 minutes, he still has six rebounds. Of course, you want to see a little bit more from Mitch, but in this series, it's just it leans more towards Cat, and you got to keep going that way, man. You have to.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Al?
I mean, it all makes sense because coming into the series, my two biggest things that I was concerned about, like some trends that were alarming for the Knicks going into the postseason, were the amount of offensive rebounds that we were giving up. Okay. And Atlanta has good rebounders on their team. Jalen Johnson's a very good rebounder, and Dyson Daniels is the best rebounding guard in the NBA. He had the most rebounds as a guard in the NBA when it came to total rebounds in the season. He was number one.
Mhm.
So I had that circled as, a key thing for us to, make sure we focus on. And if we could win that battle, it'll put us in a good position. The other thing was we were turning the ball over a lot down the stretch. And again, Atlanta is a team that thrives off, causing to turn the ball over, and they like to get out in transition. So my keys were win the rebounding battle, win the turnover battle, and you see it in these last two games. We have controlled both of those, and it's no surprise that we won those games. The other thing that I wanted to point out was also the same thing that Apollo mentioned about OG, man. OG, his rebounding has been incredible. He's averaging 9 rebounds per game in this series. You know how much you know what he averaged for the regular season?
It
He
was like
averaged 5.
5. I'm about to
So
Jesus.
he almost doubled that up. Like that's a big increase. Like, and when people talk about like being a playoff riser, they usually just focus on like your points, right? You average 14 in the regular season, or how much do you increase it in the playoffs? But
Right.
man, rebounding is equally as important, and that's a huge jump, man. And it's been a big key for us being able to win these games and take control of this series again.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just going to show that our team is learning different ways to be productive. And I love it because it's not just on one person. It's not, oh, Mitch is our rebound guy or Cat's our rebound guy. Those guys are still dominating in those roles, but everybody is stepping up. Like I said, Brunson with
Yeah.
3, Alvarado with 3,
Clarkson.
Josh Hart with 6, Clarkson. Everyone is
Clarkson, yeah.
putting in that work. Everyone's trying to do all things, which
Yep.
is crazy because you don't see a lot of teams where they're all wearing multiple hats, of offense and defense productivity. So that was really cool to see. So I love that. Real quick, shout out right here to my girl Kim DOC. What up? What up? Appreciate
What
you
up,
being.
Kim?
Shout out to my guy Joe. We know we're gonna
Oh, Joe is in the building.
we're definitely going to talk to Joe in a little bit. That's for sure. And Ebony said Mitch putback was nasty. Yeah, that Mitch
That
putback
was.
was. I
That
watched
was
that like
crazy.
3 different times back to back. Just rewind. Here we go.
Punched on it.
So rebounds have been incredible. And honestly, like that's where I got to give my flowers to Cat. Like Cat really has found new ways to be a star with the New York Knicks. Like
Right.
in the second half of the season, like he's not the lights out 3-point shooting big man that he was when he got here. Sorry for Al, he lost his gambling bets the other night because Cat needed one more 3. That's on you, bro. That's on you.
Yeah, he's not shooting though. Yep. I
Like,
shouldn't have put
he
it.
showed you all season. It's not
I don't
happening.
put. I'll put money on Knicks. That's
Yeah.
my lesson.
Just don't do it. But he has found other ways to be productive. Shout out to my guy, regular freaking Joe in the building. That's my
We
dude.
got
What
Joe
up?
from AC
Going on,
and
Joe?
regular Joe. All right, we got a couple of
Yeah, we
Joes.
got
The
the
battle of
Joes
the
in the building.
Joes.
All right.
Both from
So,
Jersey.
yes, sir. So shout out to the team for doing that. The next thing I want to talk about is Brunson and Towns actually coexisting. Like
Yeah.
this changes the trajectory of the playoffs for us.
Mhm.
This changes it. Because Brunson and Cat, they found a way to work together to dictate the matchups that worked best for them. We got Towns in the best positions to score and be dominant. Then we found ways for us to get Jalen Brunson the best position to score and be dominant. And so a lot of times it felt like it was like tag you're it, tag you're it. But when the other
Yeah.
person was it, the other person wasn't really prevalent in the situation. But
Right.
now it's like they are working towards making it easy for one another. So instead of playing more like perimeter heavy like earlier in the series, like we leaned into Brunson isolations and short range mid range control, but we also leaned into Towns post ups and his mismatch hunting. Like typically we separate those two. Like this is a Jalen Brunson ISO game. This is a Carl Anthony Towns mismatch game. But now they're switching it up. And that is the key to us winning. Game 4 specifically was about feeding Towns and letting him erupt and control the situation. And then
Mhm.
game 5 was letting Brunson take over with a 39-point explosion where Atlanta had no answer for him going down the rest of the game. So I think that that's what we need to see is not the tag you're it, but the who is being more productive right now and how do we invest in that productivity and how do we get each other going, because with Cat and JB playing like this, we're unstoppable, like in my opinion. Like especially in this series, we wouldn't have lost those 2 games if we played that way. But
Yeah.
we saw a lot of like selfishness towards the fourth quarter in those 2 games that none of us were very happy with. So I'll go with you first, Apollo. What was your thoughts on the Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns productivity in those 2 games?
I mean, it's man, I've been on Cat's head all day. Pause. I mean, all year, trying to make him play at this level, because I know and I guess that's what frustrates me. I don't get frustrated with any of those other guys as much as I do with Cat because I don't think that they are as versatile as he is. Like he is extremely versatile, especially in a series like this. You know what I mean? But even against other big men in the league, you can be dominant. You can score in the paint. You can definitely take them off the dribble if you really needed to. You can shoot the three, but I think it's been shown in this series that Cat has to be not number 2. I think he has to be like at least 1B, 1A. You know what I mean? Like it has to be on the same level and work together. Because if it's the me over you thing, it kind of makes Cat fall back into this I don't have to be as assertive kind of position. But when they share the responsibilities between the two, and feed off of who's hot at the moment. I think that's how you're supposed to. That's how you should do it on any team. Honestly, I think that's what makes even the Thunder really really good because they don't just give it to Shea all the time. Sometimes Jalen is going crazy. Even the guys off the bench like Isaiah Joe, he'll be on fire and they'll keep feeding him the ball. So that's what you have to do. You kind of have to feed off the team's energy, and I think they've been doing it a lot better recently, and that's the only way we're going to win is if they're playing together like that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Al, what are your thoughts before I bring up Joe to share his thoughts before the whiskey team gets here?
I think that you're seeing the Knicks start to operate in their ideal flow state. And this is something that Mike Brown has talked about the whole year. He's like, yo, we don't run plays. Like we're running, principles or, ideology. Like you're supposed to read and react, right? And the whole point of that is because, like, look at last year. Our offense was so predictable that these are good teams in the playoffs. If they know what you're going to do, they will shut it down.
Mhm.
So the whole point of what Mike Brown's trying to do is to keep the Knicks unpredictable, and that keeps the teams off balance, and that'll give you more lanes and opportunity to score because they just don't know what you're going to do. And so you're seeing it finally come to fruition because for a lot of the regular season, Cat, for some reason, wasn't grasping the offense, which I always knew he was going to have to operate out of the elbow, similar to Sabonis, and be a hub and get dimes, and people were going to cut off of him. And now you see him finally doing that in the last 2 games. It went to the point where he even got a triple double. Like he went full Sabonis in that game. Like that was exactly what Sabonis used to do on the Kings. So you just knew that that's what Mike Brown was going to try to implement here. And so I was always so confused as to why he didn't understand his role, because to me it was always clear. But maybe there are deeper layers to that. But they're hitting their stride now with the offense. And I think it's just because they're now able to keep teams off balance. They don't know what we're going to do, right? It might be JB or it might be Cat. It could be a number of things that could end up putting that final coffin in you. So the Knicks are looking good, man.
Yeah. All right. Before I say anything, I'm gonna bring Joe up. Let Joe give his thoughts on this tag team duo. What up, Joe?
Yo, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on the panel, man.
Of course.
What up, Joe?
What are your thoughts on what you're seeing with Cat and JB these last 2 games?
Well, Al, I just want to give you a little salute, man. He's kind of hitting it right on the head, For me, man, it's all about how we're activating our offense to send the misdirection. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can have the best offense in the world, but if we're not making that defense move and confusing them, it's not in our best interest. Right now, I like what Mike Brown is doing. In game 4, we set up Cat as like one of our primary ball handlers to distribute and facilitate. And like I said, going into game 5, I said we got to replicate that. We got to get Cat, to keep facilitating the ball. And you were seeing some really good cross screens from Jalen Brunson, getting OG the open look so he could get in the restricted area and get easy buckets. I was loving seeing that.
I saw that too.
And then in game 5, it wasn't the same exact play that we were running, but we were running that kind of as like a decoy. Like off the rip of the game, the very first play was that cross screen. It was Jalen Brunson in the corner with OG, Cat at the top, waiting for that break to happen. And right when that separation was, we're going to boom, make the pass. But in that game 5, the Hawks were on top of it. They knew what was coming, and they saw that play off the rip. And Mike Brown said, okay, what am I going to do to adjust? And he made the proper adjustment. He got that same pick and roll action involved, but he added a little Josh Hart to it. And the defense didn't really know how to react. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Mike Brown right now because it takes a coach to implement these plays. I've been saying for the longest time, our offense looks stagnant because we don't really know what we're doing, especially back in the Tibbs era. I was always critical of the offense and the rotations. But now what I'm seeing with Mike Brown, he really knows how to get us going in these actions. And Cat operating as a primary ball handler, man, I see the sky is the limit for our team if we're going to keep operating this way. So, like, Al hit it right on the head, man. Like, we got to make the defense – we got to make them collapse, So.
Yeah, I agree. For me, one thing I loved about this is I think you have to be understanding of the series that you're in. Like, there's going to be some series where Cat needs to be the most dominant player. And I think that is this series. I think it showed in those 2 losses that if it's truly reliant solely on Brunson's way to perform and deliver a Superman type performance, we would not win this series. And when we started implementing Cat, it's what allowed Jalen Brunson to have a 39-point game.
That's what I was just about to say. That
Look at how dominant Cat was. They realized, okay, they can run through Cat, and they will. He's not just a stand at the 3-point line, hope to get the ball kind of guy. He's asserting dominance, and he killed us the last game. So that kept them from double teaming Jalen Brunson, and it allowed Jalen Brunson to go off. That would not happen without that Karl Anthony Towns performance before. And that would not have happened if Karl Anthony Towns would not have had the opportunity to, in that game, start to show, hey, I can and I will do it again. Because it wasn't like he was absent in that game. He still, even though he wasn't shooting a ton, he was still shooting 71%, still showing them you need to guard me this game. So for me, that led to the Jalen Brunson performance that we saw. Because I want to play this because this was one of my favorite plays of the night. This does not happen. Where is it? What the heck? I didn't either. What the heck? Here. This does not happen
Hey.
if you guys are guarding Jalen Brunson and not paying attention to Cat.
He said, "May I have this dance?"
Come here,
He
come here.
kept him dancing.
Yeah, I remember this play. This was beautiful,
Hey.
man.
Whoop.
I just love the misdirection he sends right through the middle, and then he just gets around the defender. It
with
looks
the
so
right
nice,
and
man.
finish with the right. With the
Right.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so those plays were able to happen because they knew that other people were involved in the offense and that
Mhm.
Jalen Brunson was willing to give the rock away. You can't say that in every single game.
And
Jalen
Phil,
Brunson-
he's doing it like every possession. Brunson's
Yep.
got the ball, and immediately he's getting off it, and he's
Yeah.
setting his actions up. He's setting
Yep.
up screens and doing everything that he needs to do, man. It just looks so good. I love what we're seeing so far in this playoffs.
and
Yeah.
he had 8 assists. Like, that's what I've always said. You can still have your star-studded offensive night, Jalen, but still move the rock. He had 8
And-
assists.
And
Yep.
one turnover. You
One
got every time
turnover.
you talk about assists, you have to talk about the
Yeah.
turnovers.
Mhm.
And when you mentioned Cat's triple double, what you didn't mention was he only had 2 turnovers. And Cat, if we're giving him the ball, I think a lot of the reasons why we haven't given him the ball so much is because we didn't trust him. He can be turnover prone. He can do some bonehead things, and so it's difficult to be like we're gonna just to give him the keys to the offense.
Right.
But bro, he had 10. He had a triple double, 10 assists, and only 2 turnovers. That is incredible. Like
Yeah.
that is. Really
I just
good.
think it's so good that we can debunk the whole heliocentric thing with Brunson. Like, he can still drop 40 getting off the ball, and that's
Yeah,
the most important
exactly.
thing.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
here's
I
the
was
thing
saying,
is-
I was saying that after that game is like I feel like we played better when Jalen Brunson's off the ball. You know what I mean? Like, not that he doesn't need to play point guard, but I just think it when you alleviate those responsibilities of him, doing that, because Cat enjoys passing. Like, he really likes it. Like,
Cat
he likes
enjoys driving the ball too, and
Yeah.
breaking down that defense.
exactly. So it opens up things for Brunson if he allows that to happen. But when he runs everything through him, even if you can do it, it's predictable, and that's when things fall apart.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Joe. I don't think it debunks the heliocentric narrative because I believe that's still a true and relevant thing. But it depends on the decisions made by Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson does not have to be heliocentric. He reverts to that, unfortunately, more times than not. But he has shown that when he doesn't and he pushes up against that urge to be Superman and allow the team to fully be part of it, that he can still be the main center offensive power on our starting lineup, but he can also do so with making the team around him better. And that is what he did in this last game. And I think when you lose 2 back-to-back, and a lot of the questions that people were asking was, why did not Captain Clutch come in clutch in those 2 games? It does make you have to think, is this the legacy I want to leave if we lose this series? That my lack of including my other star, that was a fine narrative when I didn't have shooters, when I didn't have players that could actually assert dominance, when I felt like I was the only option. But now I can't say that. So I have to include these guys. And so I think that he's got the opportunity to switch it and change things up. And when he did, it was beautiful. Those last 2 games were absolutely beautiful. And we're going to talk about what this means for the rest of the series and the rest of the playoffs moving forward. Shout out to my big brother Celso in the building. Appreciate you being here.
So
My guy, Prezi, the boss. Appreciate you as always. Grab a drink tonight. Join us. Shout out to my guy Fritz, the moderator of all moderators.
Fritzy, what's good?
My guy.
Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, retweet, repost on Instagram. Let everybody know that you're rocking with us. We got a lot to talk about tonight. It's going to be a packed show, and we're going to have my guy Tony Tone join us in a little bit as well and bring Joe back up. Joe, I'm going to put you into the panel. Into the chat for a second. We're going to bring up my guy Drew Black from Circle City Whiskey, and then we'll have you back up in a little bit.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me on here, Phil.
Of course. Talk to you in a little bit, bro. All right. So, if you guys have been with us from early in the season, we had on a friend of mine by the name of Jake, who goes by Cumming Whiskey. And he had us taste a few bottles that were on his site that he really thought were some of the best up there. And he had told me, like, I think you need to like have this brand. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is that brand in Indianapolis that I see every like time I go and visit my family that are up outside of Terre Haute. And he was like, yeah, like I think you would really enjoy this toasted series. So he sent us a toasted series, and that was the highlight pour of the night. We absolutely loved it. We thought it was delicious. And so I hit him up and I was like, can you connect me with Circle City? Like, I would love to get them on an episode. And so through connections, he got me in touch with Drew, who is a busy man out there. But Drew was like, yes, let's figure it out. And he was so nice. We had someone cancel for this week and they were scheduled for next week. And Drew was like, I got you, bro. Let's switch it. And so he's hopping on tonight and I'm excited. I will give you guys fair warning. He's got a horrible taste in basketball, but great taste in whiskey. Unfortunately, it comes with the territory of where he's at, Indianapolis. And so yeah, it sucks. But unlike Kimmy, I'm looking at him backstage and he's not wearing a Reggie Miller shirt. So
Thank
I
God.
will allow him
Thank God.
Okay,
on
we're
the
good.
stage. But this is technically now an enemy territory episode because he is the enemy and he's coming to join us. So this is officially now an enemy territory episode. But luckily, the dude makes freaking delicious whiskey. So we're going to chop it up with him. So without further ado, I want to introduce him, but I don't really know if I want to introduce him with applause or booze. So we got to figure out which one we're going to do. Applause,
Give him applause. Give him applause.
booze of the basketball town.
We don't want any bad juju. No bad juju.
What up, Drew?
Hey, appreciate you guys.
Let's do both. He gets a boo and a cheers. Beautiful. What up, Drew?
Hey, bring the booze, but call me daddy because minus an Achilles injury, I think we own you guys right now. So we'll start out there. We'll start there.
All right. So what I'll say is, y'all traded Miles Turner as well.
That's how I set the tone.
Y'all traded Miles Turner as well. So y'all are gonna have a rude awakening when he comes back, and y'all are still trash. Unlike Boston, you guys lost a star.
Ask Milwaukee how they're feeling about that right now.
Yeah,
True.
Whatever. I'm not saying he's doing any better where he's at, but what I'm saying is, you guys, unlike Boston, who still found a way to be relevant when they're starting.
All respect.
Y'all
understand. I'm a Butler grad, so I won't call him my second team, but I Brad Stevens is my guy. So all respect. I'm just blown away by what they accomplished without them. The injuries. It's insane. But I'm still, I don't even know how they pulled it off, but good for them. But yeah. Let's talk Pacers Knicks. Let's dive into that.
Piling it on, man. Indiana guy with ties to Boston. It's just it's okay. Cool.
Yeah, right. You're just the ultimate.
And look, I mean, yeah, and I'll be the one. I'm glad to do that. So I appreciate you guys having me on, Phil. I appreciate you. Like you said, we had to pull together short notice, but that's something I'm always willing to do. I was actually at a Butler donor event tonight. For Ronald Norad there as the new coach. So we're big supporters. Huge Butler fan base within our community. But our tasting room is literally 7 minutes east of Butler campus, and I'm a Butler grad, so love those folks. Wouldn't talk basketball, even though they got to figure something out with this whole NIL world as well. But no, it's interesting, lately the chatter on local sports pages has been like, well, who's our real rival now? Do we hate the Patriots more than the Knicks? Where are we at here? And that Patriot thing, yeah, I mean, call it what it is. They kind of, I mean, with the exception of 1 year, they kind of owned us. But the Knicks thing, it's good for basketball, right? It's good for us. It's good for you guys. It's good to have that rivalry renewed. I grew up. I'm 43 years old, so I grew up. Reggie Miller versus the Knicks and Reggie versus Spike and all that. And so I don't know, man. I'm actually feeling real sad right now. I had a moment earlier today where I was like looking at scores and looking at series scores and everything, and I'm like, man, it's really, really dismal being in Indianapolis right now, not being in the playoffs, not having any part of this right now. But we have our reasons. We tanked like hell this year. We did a damn good job of tanking. So hopefully we fall in this top 4 so we don't lose our pick, and then it's going to be real scary for the East.
Yeah. No, I give credit to Tyrese Halliburton. Like that's one player that I think his personality is the most annoying thing in the world. But he's a good he's a good basketball player. He's like the kind of person that if he was to come to a bottle share, I'd go to every single bottle that was as far away from him as possible kind of situation. I don't want to get in conversation with Tyrese Halliburton. But if I want someone to be assisting, the rest of the players on my team, it's hard to not give him credit where it's due. I do agree. Being a Knick fan, we're all in the same age range as you are. I'm 41, turning 42 in a month. Al is 41.
Turning 41. No, I'm 40, turning 41 in July.
41. Paulo, how old are you?
You guys are hurting too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm 38. I'm the young buck.
So he's a young buck, compared to us, enjoyed that era. So having Indiana back, I remember that playoff series that you guys, beat the pants off of us. I went to 2 of those games in Indiana while I was visiting my family. And I remember having to walk out with my head as low as possible to avoid as many people as possible because it was embarrassing. Actually embarrassing, like how bad we got stomped out those nights. So I do enjoy the rivalry. I hate you guys, but I don't give that hate to you because you make good whiskey and you seem like a good dude and people talk good about you. So that's always a plus. But besides being a Pacer fan, you're also wise in your basketball knowledge. Can you talk to us a little bit about like your history in whiskey and then the forming of Circle City? Like I know we talked about it a little from my research and talking with Jake about it forming from a whiskey society out there. But like, what's your history within whiskey?
Yeah, so I mean, I always tell people I'm a bourbon nerd. That's all I am. I'm nothing special. I'm not a distiller. I'm earning my chops as a blender, if you will. But at the same time, I run a local bourbon club. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, basically, and so I was working for another company, and I was running around chasing bourbon just like everybody else in the early days. And realized there was a void in the whiskey community in Indianapolis. We had one bourbon club that was more just transactional, secondary group, if you will, just guys play for local guys to sell bottles and trade bottles, whatever, which is fine. I got nothing against that, but there was going on, and so. I created a club that, I said, hey, we need to come together. Like we need, it doesn't mean we can't trade. We can't, sell things to each other. But at the same time, like we need to come together and share our passion for this whole thing. And so I created a club and I always had the heart, in it as well to do single barrel picks. And so started partnering with some local stores, et cetera, and doing barrel picks and just kind of ran with it. And, at the end of the day, it kind of shifted a little bit, but we in about 4 years did about 60 barrel picks. 4 or 5 years, did about 60, 65 barrel picks. And at some point, a guy that runs a local bourbon or a local liquor store came to me and said, "Hey, like, would you want to do a private label thing for your club?" We did that. We kind of made some fun with it. The first pick, if you're familiar with the whole cater culture, if you will, guys that kind of chase the hype, we made a label that had 2 potatoes high-fiving on the front label, and then it went really well. And then we did another one, and then he said, "Hey, we should build a club around, or we should build a brand around your club." And I said, "Man, that sounds fun. Like, I know nothing about that, but let's do it." And so with some barrels that he and some friends owned, we built a brand that was called IBWE Whiskey Company, which our club was originally Indiana Brown Water, or originally Indiana Bourbon Whiskey Enthusiasts. And then we got shut down by Facebook, and we pivoted and called it Indiana Brown Water Enthusiasts. So it was the IBWE Whiskey Company. And the first label came over, and it was a picture of my face turned into a sketch. And I was like, "Man, that's the most narcissistic thing I've ever seen in my life. Let's run with it." So I said, "Hey, let's add the other guys in the club, because I'm not the only one helping run this thing. So let's add some guys, to the label." And we did that. And we actually had really good success in a short period of time. We outsold Tito's by, for 3 days. And that was eye-opening. It was like, hey, like, we've got a captive audience, but work. And so that's when I rebranded into Circle City, and I had some ideas to expand our sourcing and get some barrels from some different companies. I had the idea to really promote some up-and-coming distilleries, but also, as the industry evolved, obviously we started getting better aged barrels from some of the more heritage distillers in Indiana in the United States, and we just ran with it, and it's turned into this thing that I never expected to turn into. And it's all built on the idea of bourbon people that real bourbon lovers, that creating something that we think other bourbon enthusiasts will enjoy. And so we're not the only ones doing something like that. I think we're early to it, and we kept it kind of local, but at the same time, that whole concept has really grown. And that I think most bourbon enthusiasts right now, they want something that they can trust and they can latch onto, and it's not just marketing or money driven. It's people that want to support the community, and so we're transparency focused. We're integrity focused, and so I'm bad at marketing. I'll be the first to tell you that, but at the same time, the concept itself has lent to the brand just continuing to grow in an organic way that I think has been good for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love, things starting out of a whiskey society shows just like the communal aspect of whiskey. And a lot of people that are on the outside don't realize, the communities that can form from something like that. And for me, that's what whiskey's all about, is being communal, is being able to chop it up with people over time, learn each other's palates, know what we like. We look out for each other when we see a barrel that, we think that they would like as we're traveling and so forth. So I love that. But Drew, can you do me a favor and check if you're connected to a Wi-Fi signal? You cut out for a little bit, like robotic-like, during part of the story. And I just want to make sure you don't cut out.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to move. I'm going to keep moving. I get a little closer to the signal.
For those that don't know,
Is that
Indiana
better?
is called, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I was gonna say, for those that don't know, Indiana is called the Circle City. It's their nickname.
Yeah. So you started this brand, put out these bottles. where are you guys currently distributed to?
So we're in Illinois or Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin. We're trying to get into New York right now. So if you guys know anybody there, and then we're adding Arizona, probably Massachusetts and Texas real soon. But we're also online. So I mean, we can ship to like 45 states right now.
Okay.
So through our retail partners.
And is that who's the main retail partner? I know you've had some stuff on Sealbox, but what are the main distributors you guys have online so we can share with people?
Yeah, so we work with Sealbox. We work with through our website, circlecitywhiskeyco.com. You can actually order directly. It's through a retail partner, but it's through Mash Networks. And then and then Take Your Pick Liquors is another partner of ours. And we're exploring some other partnerships right now.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit about this first pour. I'm thinking we start with bottle and bond and then work our way up proof wise. Tell us a little bit about this batch 4 here, 6 years, 100 proof. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on like your guys' bottle and bond. I don't know what you share with people, what you don't, what you keep disclosed. So I'll let you take the floor on this one.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll disclose it. Like I always tell people, I'll put as much on a label as I can without getting myself sued. So,
yeah.
That one, it's from MGP out of Indiana. With our core products, we really do try to stick to MGP right now for a few reasons. One, I think the whiskey's great, but two, I think that it's sustainable. We can continue to source the same stuff. It's affordable. But it's a 3-barrel blend. So we keep all our batches really small, and really, I mean, truly handcrafted. It's their 36% rye mash bill. So 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malted barley. And, the goal, I think that mash bill shines as young, that 6-year age range is almost perfect for it. It really, with that high rye content, it drinks above its age. I try to create blends that I think do that as well. That will really highlight an oak forward, like those spicy notes, but also a nice fruit backbone. Still continuing to have some sweetness, but nothing. It's nothing that's unapproachable, and tends to be a really easy drinker at that proof point. But at the same time, drinks something that you might think is more of a higher age profile, if you will.
Yeah. And so for those of you guys who don't know, you may not be a whiskey drinker in the chat. MGP stands for Midwest Grain Products. Like he said, it's all out of Indiana. So this is kind of perfect for a brand that is in Indiana. You don't have to worry about like massive shipping fees and everything like that for your barrels to come age or whatever. Or if you're sourcing directly and then bottling and blending, you don't have to worry about all that transit time. And a lot of times there are a lot of brands that I've talked to that barrels have got lost in shipment and all this stuff, kind of a bigger headache than what it's worth if you're a smaller operation. And so this is their well-known mash bill for a high rye, which is 60% corn, like you said, 36% rye, 4% malted barley. And MGP is honestly one of my favorites. Some of my favorite craft companies all work with MGP. And if something is constantly putting out good product over and over again, there's really no reason to stray away from that. So I'm excited for this one, this bottled in bond, 100 proof, looks delicious. Look at that color on there, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. It's beautiful.
I've been enjoying high rise lately too, so I'm already excited for this one.
Yeah, I got him on a high rye kick, and
yeah, thanks to Phil.
All right, so let's go for this, guys. Everybody, grab a pour of this one. And so from your guys' site, we tasted the toasted on the last episode. You also have the other one we're going through right now, which is the toasted oak. Then you have the Hinkle one with the little dog on it. Those
Yep.
are your guys' 4 main ones, right?
Yep, those are our core products.
Awesome. And then you do single barrel releases that are the Legacy series.
Our single barrel series is our main single barrel selection series. The Legacy series is kind of an elevated option that we have that is for very, very select barrels. The idea is that there's very specific barrels that we're willing to hang our Legacy on.
Okay. Awesome. That's awesome. Definitely need to try one of those one day. And are those released through like stores or like societies and stuff like that?
It just depends. I mean, originally the very first one was a 42 bottle yield barrel that was a 13-year-old rye that we only released in our tasting room. And then we had more recently we did a release for Seal Box. They did an almost 13-year-old rye.
Nice.
That was just fantastic. So we made the decision that was worth putting in the Legacy series label. And then a barrel got released into the Chicago market that was hit the mark. So it got put in that same label.
That's awesome. Well, this smells delicious. I'm gonna give it a sip, and then you guys already had your pour.
I took a
I
sip.
didn't drink it yet. No.
I smell a little like honey on this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah, I smell it like a certain kind of spice.
Yeah, that's delicious. That to me is. I'll let y'all go first, but yeah, that is a great bottled and bond. All right, Apollo, I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts?
It's still going down. Pause.
So it has a long finish for 100 proofer. It has a really long finish. That's very surprising. I
That's
like
what I'm saying.
that.
It's still. I saw like it's still going. I can't.
It's still going. Yeah, like, it's very fruity. I taste a little honey in there, but definitely like getting like, I don't know, like all kinds of fruit, like pineapple. I'm thinking of like those fruit cups that you used to eat like when you were a kid that had like all the fruits in it. Like just like I'm just getting like, I can't put my finger on one fruit. It's just like I'm feeling like a bunch of fruits. It's just very fruit forward. Very nice, very well done. I like this a lot.
Thank you.
I like this. I really like this too. I think the spice that I'm tasting it reminds me of like a gingerbread cookie in a way. And it has like it's like a sweet, but it's like still spicy at the same time, kind of finish to it. And it's like, it's something that's the first thing I picked up was a spice, and then now I'm tasting it. It's kind of it's mind boggling how smooth that was. And I didn't mean to say that word, but
You're supposed to say balanced instead of
balance.
And that's the cool thing about working with like really, really small blends, 3, 4, 5 barrel blends, is you can really pull out what you're wanting from particular barrels, and get, I mean, you're not going to get the benefit of kind of homogenizing a huge blend and getting like a really common theme across it all. What you can do is actually pull out very individual notes and individual traits of a barrel. So like if you find a barrel that has a really nice long finish, it's not going to get lost by blending it with 20, 30 other barrels. Yeah. You can say, hey, like I want to find a blend that has, that does, create a nice long finish at a lower proof. And with a 3 barrel blend, that barrel's traits are going to carry, and so it's more predictable and it's more it's more controllable from that perspective.
Yeah.
Usually when we're tasting like bottles and you drink these high proofers, right? These 120s, and you're like, oh, it doesn't drink, to its proof. It drinks below its proof. And then usually when you have like a bottle in bond that's 100 proof, you're like, oh man, that's smooth. I rarely have said like this drinks above. Usually, if you say that something is hot, like it's drinking above its proof, I feel like that's a bad thing sometimes. But when this happened with this, like that was actually good, like because it made the finish last longer. You got more notes out of it. So when I said it then, like it felt like wrong, like something I never say, and I don't know. I think that makes this unique. Yeah, this is really really nice. I like.
Thank you.
You know what I love about this? So first, 3 of my favorite notes in any whiskey at all are honey, citrus, and leather. And this has 2 of the 3. Like I get citrus peel on this, I get honey. But a lot of people, they smell the honey and then instantly say honey. But like what I love about this one is there's a difference between honey and honeysuckle, and like some of my favorite honey finishes are actually more honeysuckle type flavored, where it's not as thick and as like sugar forward, but it's light honey with, some floral notes. And that's what I get out of this one. And what you were talking about, like the little can of fruit, what are the best thing to put on delicious fruit? Whether it's a melon, whether it's an apple, whether it's a grape, you see a fruit board and you see honey next to it, it makes it that better all the time. And so that's what this is to me. This is like me straight up taking oranges, taking apples, taking cantaloupe, and just constantly dipping them in honey in liquid form. And this is absolutely delicious. And that spice balances perfect. Like it's just hints of the spice to make it to where it's not so sweet of a pour that you don't feel like you can go to it time and time again. Like that rice, that rice spice, baking spice, or whatever in the background plays really, really nice with the honey, the caramel, and the fruit that you get out of it. So this is a delicious bottled in bond. And the fact that it's a blend of 3 barrels just shows your blending capabilities, like being able to keep those things still, like prevalent, but also play nice with each other. That's, sometimes I'll blend at home and I'll be like, these got to work together. These are my favorite flavors. And then I blend them and I'm like, oh gosh, like where did that flavor go? How did that happen? So being able to do that is such a craft that people don't understand. Like it's seriously like running a point guard position on a team, being able to not only play your role, but figure out how to play the role of other people so that all the parts can work well together. So this is delicious, man. Great job, Drew.
Thank you. Well, and the reality is, I get a lot of people that ask, like, what's the science to blending? And I know there's people out there that have systems. There's some really well-known blenders out there that have like, they like to grade barrels and they're, and they're doing really large blends and they're very great at what they do. But at the same time, I still come back to the fact that like, we'll stick with these basketball analogies. Like there's a lot of turnovers that occur in trying to create the right blend. It's trial and error, right? Like you're putting it out there. There's other, there were a lot that didn't make the cut in the process, but it's just, you have exactly like your point about making blends at home. I think this is going to work. And then sometimes it just doesn't, and so you have to be planning for that from the beginning. And then you also have to be willing to pivot and to get to what you want to do or what you want to get to.
Yeah, I love it. So let's talk a little bit more about basketball. All right. So I know your team's out of it. All right. But are you watching the playoffs at all right now?
I am. I will be. I'll admit I watch games. Been really busy lately. I am watching games every chance I can get. But I'm also kind of following box scores as much as anything else right now.
Okay. So out of anything you've seen from the New York Knicks this year, because we are a different team than we were when we played you guys. What are your thoughts from what you've seen as a Pacer fan? The same way I had to like vomit out, a compliment about Tyrese Halliburton. what are your thoughts on the New York Knicks this year?
I mean, go Hawks, but at the same time, no, seriously though, the thing about the Knicks that's interesting is you guys have these beasts in your core, right? And I mean, you've got a big three by all standards, and you've built some really good pieces around them. But that takes time. That doesn't even take one season to meld together. And so I think your team is figuring out where they are as a team, where their pieces like fall and where they can work together. I hate to say it, but I love watching Jalen Brunson. I hate watching him against the Pacers. But at the same time, like he's a perfect example. I mean, he's a beast of a scorer, but now all of a sudden he's got guys around him that can be big pieces. I mean, you've got Cat, you've got Bridges, you got all these guys that can get it done. And they're figuring it out, and that's a little scary, and I don't like that. That these guys are figuring out how to play together and not how to just be, a great team. We've all played pickup ball, I'm sure, and you put 5 really good players together, and they can run the gambit for a few games, but then somebody just happens to be a better mix together, and outplays 5 individual players, and that's where I watch them. I'm not watching them as a team this year. I'm watching them as a team over the last 3 years, and they are figuring something out that I hope they don't. That I hope gets broken up over the next year or two. But that's the big difference, I think, and that's the thing that's going to hopefully, for you guys anyway, get you over the hump.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that because for us, I believe this is the year for championship. I think that this is the year that we have to make our push. This is the year that we have to really press into it. But what do you want to see from your guys, this offseason? Like, do you want to see trades made so that when Tyrese comes back, he's got more to work with? Because honestly, looking at the roster right now, you guys lost, some key components of your guys' push last season. What do you think needs to happen for you guys in the offseason to actually come back and be relevant? Because you don't want another year wasted on his contract.
Yeah, I think I don't want to see trades. I think we already made the trades we need to make. Like, I think Zubac, I think we got the center that we need. And I think that's something we haven't had. Miles, I was a Miles Turner fan. I mean, how many centers do you have in the league that can run the floor and actually do a pick and pop and hit, and shoot and stretch the floor, but also defend the rim? I liked Miles a lot, but at the same time, obviously the big peeve with him was forever, like the guy averaged like 7 rebounds a game at best. And so you need somebody that can actually, get the ball, stop possessions for other teams. And while that was a big struggle that we needed to fix. And I think we've got that. Again, I think if we get that top 4 pick, I think we're in a really good spot. If we don't, I still think we're in a really good spot. Getting that center, we get Miles back, and you're talking. You've got Nemhard has grown. You've got Neesmith is still a great scorer. The problem we're going to have, I think, more than anything, is just kind of figuring out where everyone fits. We don't even know what our starting 5 is going to look like. Yeah. Like, let's say we do get the top 4 pick. You're talking a top 4 pick. That's kind of expected to be a starter. And so some of these guys who have earned starting roles, they're probably going to, somebody's probably going to have to come off the pine. And that's not a bad thing if they can accept that role. And so, at the end of the day, our strength has been in our depth for years, right? Like we are running people up and down the floor the last few years. We always, we'd struggle in the first half. I don't even know if it was a struggle. We'd keep it afloat for the first half. And then by late third quarter, early fourth quarter is when we just take off, and teams couldn't keep up because we had fresh legs And, you guys had Thibodeau run your guys into the ground. I know that's changed, but at the same time, like that's it. That's his problem. But at the same time, that was that was our strength. So, at the end of the day, I think that I think we're going to have a great team next year. We're going to have a great roster. It's just figuring out where everyone's going to fit into it. Fortunately, I think, Rick Carlisle he's a Hall of Fame coach. And if anybody can figure that out in 82 games, it's going to be him. And so, whatever that looks like, if we end up with that top 4 pick, if we don't, then I think we're picking up where we left off with a better center, a better true center. And so, the offense is going to change a little bit. We're going to have to figure out, again, Big Z's a great center, but at the same time, can he run with the way this offense has run for the last few years? He's going to have to thin out a little bit and get a little more mobile to keep up with the offense. I think it's all possible, but it all remains to be seen. So that's my hope.
That's a
Drew,
great point.
Drew knows ball. Drew knows ball.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because Zubac is a great center. That's one thing that you said is true. But you guys were the fastest running offense, before everything happened. And I don't know the last time I saw Zubac run fast. So how does that work? Even with Turner was at least keeping up, so it was.
He was
always,
mobile.
Exactly. So,
and he was a floor stretcher, so in fast breaks he didn't have to go all the way to the basket half the time.
Exactly.
Zubac, I don't know where he's not stopping at the 3.
No.
Yeah, Turner, that was Turner's thing. Like he would usually stop at the top of the key, set a screen, and then do a pick and pop. Mm-hmm. And so he's only running 50 feet. He's not running the full 80 or 80 feet or whatever it is for a full court.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's a great point. I appreciate that. That's so good. But one thing you said that is true, regardless of what I think about the Pacers, Rick Carlisle right there. He is always able. He has always been able to tell you something and do something great.
I'm telling you, man, he's the real Jim Carrey. I'm telling you.
He is. When he didn't show up to the awards and everyone was like, "Where's the real Jim Carrey?" Like he's running the Pacers,
he's
bro.
Coaching.
Like,
he's coaching right now.
It is what it is. But I agree. I think you guys, will have a little bit of a learning curve there. And I am really interested to see if you guys do get the top 4 pick, what direction you guys are going. Because I don't even know who is the projected top 5 for this year.
Oh, there's talent, man. There's a lot of talent coming out this year.
If you're in that top whatever, you got to try to go get AJ DeBansta. That kid he's different.
And I think DeBansta is the best fit for the Pacers right now in terms of need. If need is a thing, Peterson's a beast too. I'm laying off Boozer as much. I don't. It's not a knock on him, but I just don't. I think he might be a tough fit for the NBA. But at the same time, if you're looking for somebody who could just, again, if it's somebody that's coming off the bench as a scorer and is somebody that could you can replace anybody on your bench. I think Peterson's that guy, but I think that if you're looking for somebody who actually can play that stretch 3 kind of situation, 3 to 4 spot. I mean, DeBansta is exactly what we need. So I mean, he would be my pick if anybody cared, but I don't think anybody in the Pacers organization cares.
He's actually projected. He's projected to go number 1 if the Pacers get him to the Pacers.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the only thing is obviously you're not going to put Pascal Siakam to the bench.
No.
So it would have to be Nesmith. And so is that the player you guys want going to the bench? Is Nesmith, and riding with the rest of your starting lineup? Or are you guys trying to keep Nesmith in the starting lineup and finding maybe someone who goes alongside of Tyrese Halliburton, in that shooting guard position? That's the big question, because Nesmith is in my opinion, leaps and bounds better than who you guys have as your shooting guard. Like Nembrant is good, but he can still be really good off the bench. Like I don't think in a lot of teams that he would be a starter in a lot of other teams.
I
but
agree with that completely.
I feel like Neesmith can start on mostly any team as the small forward. So that's the hard thing.
And he's a two-way player too, so that makes him really, really
or
cool.
you get your rook and you have your rook, earn the minutes, come off the bench.
Right. And that's kind of my thought too. Is like, then that was my point. Like, you got 6 guys that could plug into a five-man, starting 5. So, at the end of the day, somebody's got to. And you look at a rookie and say, "Hey, man, like this doesn't have to be a downgrade. You could literally be 6th man of the year as a rookie. You like that's not a bad lot in life, especially if you're playing for potential championship minutes. Like, but I don't know. That's a tough spot to be in it all in of itself.
And that's a great point because you think about it. Like, let's say you guys got AJ in that first, and he came off the bench. That gives him a chance to be rookie of the year and 6th man of the year. Like, when have you seen that happen? Like very rare. Like not only come off the bench, but come off the bench and be elite. Like change things up. So I think that's something that you guys have to look at. Is like it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, you were drafted number 1, so you have to be an integral, immediate part to our starting lineup, because I think that could cause some weirdness, especially with Tyrese coming back after a whole year. There's still some like regelling that's going to need to happen with him in the roster.
Yep.
Just as much as you don't want to see the Knicks, figuring things out. I don't want to see AJ the Master on that team. That's not. That's him with Tyrese Halliburton is going to be absolutely ridiculous. I'm telling you that right now. Yes. He's going to be throwing him alley-oops all over the place.
But and then I also agree with you what you're saying, Phil. Like Nembhard or Neesmith, whichever one, probably more Nembhard. I agree with you on that. Like he's a stud if he's as a bench player. Yeah. I mean, is he a pretty decent shooting guard off? I mean, but and the other thing to keep in mind, he's a point guard by trade. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was a point guard in college and he ran that role a little bit this year as well. And so then all of a sudden you've got a second unit of TJ McConnell and Nembhard who can kind of alternatively run, can shift the floor a lot together. When you've got 2 guys that can handle the in the backcourt, they can also handle the ball. And then you've got Obi Toppin and I mean, that becomes a really scary second unit. I think probably the best second unit in the league. And if he can own that role, he's getting paid enough. Who cares? I don't know. I'm just different in that way maybe than, I think most of us are. Okay, I'm making $15-20 million a year to play off the bench. Okay, that's my role now. My salary doesn't change.
All right.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, so shout out to Knicks and Ish. Appreciate you being in the building. Shout out to Tony Tone. I know we talked a lot about the Pacers, but Drew's the new homie. I got to give him his time to shine and talk ball too. I hope that they have Tyrese come back and they're still the bottom feeders of the league next year. That's my hope and desire for them. But I like to at least hear his hopes so that when he comes back next season, we can point and laugh and be like, none of that happened. That'll be a lot more fun next season, is being able to have this year's footage of his hopes and expectations. Because reminder, early in the season, I had my my homie New England Whiskey on the channel, and he was a huge Boston fan. And he placed a wager with me about, who was going to win the game coming up. And we wagered some top tier allocated whiskey, and he was confident as can be. I delighted. And I continued to remind him how happy I was to receive his package when he sent it to me because they lost. And so, being able to go back with receipts for Drew next season is going to be a very, very beautiful thing. After we win a chip this year and then come after another one next year, it's going to be beautiful.
So you set him up. Him up.
You know, I gave him his little platform so that I have enough content to go back to next year. All right, Drew. All right, Drew. Tell me a little bit about this double oaked. All right. There's been a lot of brands putting out double oaked. Some of them have been great. Some of them have been basura, straight up trash. But I'm having a feeling this is not going to be one of those trash ones. So tell me a little bit about this double oaked.
So that is batch 2. That is the last batch that we did that was it's a Kentucky-based distillate. Again, like I've said, I will divulge as much as will avoid getting me sued. And this particular distillery was very polite with me and saying, please don't use my our trademark in our branding, but it is a 6.5 year from Kentucky, from Bardstown, Kentucky. I'll just tell you, it's not Bardstown Bourbon Company. 78% corn, 10% rye, 12% malted barley. If you look that up in Google,
So,
out of Bardstown, Kentucky, you'll be,
With you being on the show, am I allowed to say
you
who
can
I-
say whatever you want.
Perfect. So I'll let you finish and then I'll go.
No, I mean, so it's 78, 10, 12 out of Bardstown, Kentucky. The big thing is that we use very specific barrels for both the toasting and the double oaking. We use barrels out of a very boutique cooperage out of Missouri that produce barrels for traditionally for wine. And so they're really high grade barrels that are, they're really expensive, but worthwhile in my opinion for what they're putting out. And so, the profile of that second oak is truly my secret sauce, if you will. It's, it is from a very well-known distillery. I'll let you run with it from there. And that's about it.
All right, cool. So everybody, this one is 117.5 proof, aged 6.5 years. If you are in the whiskey game and mash bills, that is a very known mash bill by one of my favorite distilleries out there, Heaven Hill. So I'm assuming, he doesn't need to confirm or deny. I'm assuming this is Heaven Hill. For those of you who don't know who Heaven Hill is, you've seen all their stuff on the shelf from Elijah Craig, Evan Williams, Heaven Hill themselves, Henry McKenna. So it's a very popular mash bill. So I'm excited for this one because I know that they put out bangers, and then put it in your Speyside cooperage barrel to age it in. How much time was the extra aging?
About 6 months.
Okay. All right, cool. And so each cooperage, their barrels are known for something, different than others. What is their main distinction with Speyside cooperage?
So actually, Speyside is the original cooperage, and that was we probably could have done a little better on the labeling.
Okay.
The secondary barrels from a cooperage called the Oak Cooperage.
Okay.
And their thing is they do 24-month air season staves. The staves that they are selecting to actually use are much tighter grain, which means the oak is older, considerably older oak. I mean, that really is the big thing is that stave selection.
Okay.
And so, and that air seasoning, the average cooperage, the traditional cooperage for most bourbons are 6-month air seasoned. These are level 4 char for the secondary oak.
Okay. So these are level 4. Okay.
That went over my head. So what is cooperage? Yeah. I like to geek out on bourbon, so I want to know.
No, you're good. Cooperages are the barrel makers. The people that are producing the barrels that the woods or that the whiskey's going into. And then the char levels, you've got char level 1. Usually it was 1 through 5. I heard something recently. Somebody said something as high as level 10. And that seems a little excessive to me. But that's the amount of time that effectively relates to the amount of time that they keep a flame to the inside of the barrel. So how much they're charring the wood on the inside of the barrel. The longer the char, the more heavy that effect is going to be in a short period of time.
And you know what's crazy? Like, depending on where you hear it from, like, you know, some people say 5, some people say 10. I've always known 1 through 4, you know, like from full to, you know, max char being 4. So this right here says that, so the original one, it says aged in char 3. So the first barrel had char 3 and then the second barrel had char 4?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. So that means you're going to get all the flavors that you would want from that barrel. That'll bring that sweetness. That'll bring some of the oakiness. The more char you have in a barrel, it is going to bring more of that stuff out. So the heavy char provides more area for the alcohol to like penetrate and actually get more smoky and earthy tones, which I love more smoky tones. Like, I'm a smoky kind of guy, and in a double oaked, you want that. You want the smoky tones. So I'm excited for this one. All right, let's give this a pour, guys.
Let's do it.
For all of y'all that are watching, this is what this one looks like. I'm putting the link again into the chat so that you guys can pick up some of these bottles that we're talking about tonight, whatever ones sound like they are right up your palate. And if you're still getting into whiskey and you don't know what your palate is, just trust us. If we say it's good, purchase it. If you don't like it, I'll give you my address. You ship it to me, and I'll have an extra bottle on my shelf. All right? So just put it in there right there. All right? Yeah, it smells good.
So you can definitely taste the barrel on this.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
You could taste the char.
Char.
Definitely, it's your typical toasted flavors, very prevalent marshmallow.
Yep.
What was the proof on this?
So this one is 117.5.
Yeah, so it definitely gives you that Kentucky hug. It's nice though. I like it. Overall, I think it's really good. I think if people don't like the char, like if they're not big into the oak, then this might not be for them because it's prevalent. But for me, it works. This tastes like a mixed drink almost. This tastes like a cocktail.
All right, what are your
And
thoughts?
that's Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Drew.
No, I was just gonna say, like, if they don't like that char and that oak, they probably shouldn't drink double oaked in general.
Fact.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, if one oak bothers you, double is definitely gonna.
Me, like you said, I can definitely taste the oak. You definitely, when you said marshmallow, I started to taste it like immediately. It does have like a good mix, like a s'more, like a toasted marshmallow kind of taste, and it's definitely more. I guess it's not as like towards
smooth.
the end.
Stay
not,
smooth.
No. That's not even what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say it's not. There's not as much heat on the back end as I expected for a 117. So that's definitely something that I wasn't expecting, thinking that it was going to be char. You know, that double oak. So yeah, I think I like it. I really like it a lot.
Yeah,
it's not as smooth as
the bib, as the bottle and bond.
Right. It's not as balanced as the other one. I definitely like it.
So yeah, this one's not smooth, but it is delicious. For a bottle and bond, I mean for a double oak, this is great. Because I had the opposite experience of Al. I didn't really get any of that spice till lingered in the background, which I like about a double oaked. I like that it hits you at the end. I immediately got like hit in the face with the charred oak and caramel. Like, I got caramel flavors immediately. I got that toasted marshmallow that you guys were talking about. But like the baking spice hit me a little bit later. But one of my favorites, you know, is cigar. You know, I love the taste of like cigar or tobacco in a whiskey, and I get that. Like, I get the light notes of the, you know, caramel and vanilla and marshmallow but they're coated in like some cigar tobacco in the middle of the palate, and that to me is perfect. Like for me, with a double oaked, to be a good double oaked, I don't want too much sweetness. So many times, so many double oaks have too much sweetness from the char that they don't have enough actual like oak taste to it, or tobacco or clove or leather. They don't have any of that, and it's just super sweet. And I'm like, no, this is not it. Or it swings the other way, where it's too much of the char and too much of the tobacco and too much of the toasted flavor that you don't get any hints of sweetness. I feel like this walks that fine pendulum line.
Balanced.
Like this
It's
goes
good
right down the
balance.
line of, I'm gonna give you a little spice, I'm gonna give you some sweetness, but then I'm gonna give you those oaky, that wood smoky, campfire-esque cigar type flavors as well. So I think this is a perfect balance of a double oak. Like I love this. Like
I just
Thank
went
you.
back and smelled this, and it made me feel like I was at a barbecue. Like it just smells like a barbecue, like a pit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nice.
Oh.
Yep. That's that. Yeah. That you're getting like that charcoal, like that char note. And that's,
Yeah.
we were really aiming for an oak lover's dream, if you will.
Yeah.
We want you to, I've had too many double oaks that, like exactly like Phil said, too sweet. Like, and I'm like, I'm not really picking up double oak. And I want it to be representative of, I mean, the label should kind of tell you where you're going there is,
Yeah.
if you don't love oak, you shouldn't go for this. Period. End of story. Like I'm not here, like that's fine. But if you're somebody that wants really that heavy oak influence, this should be something that you go for.
Yeah.
You leaned in more into the oak instead of the leaning into the marshmallow.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like there's a place for it. Like the more marshmallow flavors should come more so from a toasted release.
I was just going to say that.
Like the marshmallow is supposed to be an accent to the oak, not the oak being an accent to the toasted. That's what a toasted release is for. And that's where the difference of toasted and double oak comes. So for me, this is that perfect balance of, the flavors that you want. Me, I love like campfire-esque type whiskeys. When I first fell in love with whiskey, I drank bourbon, I drank rye, I really enjoyed it. But I fell in love with whiskey over a Lagavulin 16 because it was like a campfire in my mouth. Like, and me, I love it. Like our family travels full time, and from campground to campground, what do I love more than anything? A chilly night outside around a campfire. And while other people are like walking away from the fire and moving their chair, like musical chairs around the fire because the smoke is hitting them, I'm moving my chair to be in the center of the smoke because I love the scent, I love the flavor of it, And so for me, the more a double oak actually relies on the oakiness, the more I like it, which is why, you weren't part of the show at the time, Al, but when we had Dixon Dedman on the show, that's one thing that we talked about all the time. Like he started his whole brand based off of double oaked because that's why it's called 2XO, because his favorite thing about whiskey was double oaking, and he was like, what's the kind of whiskey I always go back to is double oak, and so for him, that's what he wanted to do. Kentucky Owl wasn't doing that, so he left Kentucky Owl, started his own thing, and just continued to put out double oaked barrels nonstop. And so for me, like he said, if you don't like oak, this is not for you. But if you are willing to like enjoy the flavors that come from it, it's hard to beat a good double oaked. And this is a good double oaked. But there's too many out there that are not good double oaks. They rely too much on the sweetness that they lose what an actual double oaked is.
Yeah.
Well, and to your point, kind of touched on the toasted aspect. I do think, the marshmallow, and you'll get marshmallow notes in a lot of things, but, I found with toasted, it's a really fine. So, I mean, again, so Al, we'll dive in a little bit because on the cooperage side of things, A toasted barrel doesn't get any char. You're putting it into a second barrel that literally just gets a light toasting around the inside, and they're not getting any of the char whatsoever. And so you get a lot of fresh oak notes, and it's a fine line. You have to taste those barrels routinely to make sure they don't go too far into that like fresh oak flavor, that raw oak flavor. But if you think about it in your mind, you know, the line between a marshmallow flavor and a raw oak flavor, it's really a fine line. And so you want to hit that marshmallow flavor and get that as robust as possible, and then cut it off basically and dump it before you get to that raw oak kind of green oak flavor. And so, you know, that's where, like, that's what I go after for the toasted. And yeah, I agree with you. It's funny because Brian from Sealbox, when he described what you're drinking right now, he said it's like laying on a marshmallow in a rick house. And so you definitely do get those marshmallow notes, but it's not as direct as with a toasted.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, Drew. So besides me telling you that, you know, the Pacers suck, what are some things that you guys are currently like working on that we can look forward to, that the chat can look forward to, and that we can promote?
Yeah, so our big one right now, you know, obviously we're always doing some unique things. We recently released our Robusto blend, which is pretty much sold out everywhere, so not a big deal. But it was our take on a cigar blend using non-traditional spirit finished whiskey. So it was just a blend of toasted, double oaked, French oaked, and then one straight whiskey, straight bourbon whiskey. And but you know, we're leaning into the blend concept. We did a series, and if you want me to, you know, I don't know if you guys are baseball fans at all, but and I should say I was raised a Yankees fan, so I still love the Yankees. And I will make some sense of this real quickly. I diehard Yankees fan. Don Mattingly was my idol growing up, and Joe.
Favorite Yankee of all time, Don Mattingly.
Yeah, Donnie Baseball is my guy, man. He's from Evansville, Indiana.
I was there when Jim Abbott threw the no-hitter.
Okay,
if you remember Jim Abbott.
I know Jim Abbett. Yeah,
that was a crazy game.
Yeah, had to put the glove on his stub. So. And obviously Joe Torre, I always say Joe Torre, somebody that'll always have a spot at the head of the table if he ever wanted to come to my family dinner. But I followed those guys over to the Dodgers, and I'm still a Yankees fan too. But like I followed those guys when they promote, you know, they let go of Torre, you know, promoted Girardi, and they, you know, I was a little slighted because they didn't give Don Mattingly the shot. And so both those guys went over to the Dodgers, and I started following the Dodgers. I kind of fell in love with the Dodgers at the time too. When Shohei Ohtani was the first member of the 50-50 club, I kind of got on board with that. And so we did a series that was called the 50-50 club as a nod to him. But the idea is 2 barrels, so a 50-50 split composition of the blend between 2 barrels. And it went really, really well. The first blend, batch 1, was a 9-year out of Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, 75-13-12, well-known distillery, and a 7.5-year 78-10-12 barrel. And then we did another batch that went really well as well. People started asking, well, we want to do a 50-50 club. And I'm like, well, it's a time-consuming process because blending isn't stirring. Blending takes time to know what you're actually getting. It takes 2 to 3 weeks for a blend to really come together. And you really want to take 2 barrels. And people are like, oh, well, we don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, let me figure something out. So I came up with this idea. So we're expanding the 50-50 club into barrel selections for groups, clubs, stores, the whole thing, where we are, I will create multiple 50-50 club blends. So 2 barrel composition blends from 2 different distilleries every time. And so, you know, we're really expanding that right now. And the cool thing is with every blend, I kind of look at it as an album, if you will. Kind of going back to like the vinyl culture. So every blend I'll create the blend, and then I'll re-barrel it back into original barrels, sometimes double oak, half of it, whatever. So now you've got an A side and a B side, just like an album, to every blend. And stores, clubs, etc. can pick from those. So they can get their 50-50 club blend, but only having to take one barrel, or even if they want to do a half a barrel, we can always accommodate that as well. But do something real cool that creates something truly unique to our brand, utilizing the barrels that we're sourcing, and just have something that's fun and completely unique.
Hey, quick question for I'm still learning these things. So half a barrel, how many bottles does that yield?
It varies, but usually you're looking like between 70 and 90 bottles for a half a barrel.
Okay.
That's awesome. I love it. So what are the chances of getting my hands on a Robusto, or are they completely like gone?
What's that one?
Let me see what I can figure out. I know Take Your Pick Liquor still has some, but let me see what I can figure out, and I'll get you taken care of.
Okay, cool. That'll be awesome. All right, so Drew, tell people where they can follow you, where they can support you. And I definitely am thankful for you coming on, and I'm looking forward to continuing to build with you. Our family is probably going to spend June, July, and August in Indiana. Our granny is not doing so well out there.
Sorry to hear that.
So we're gonna, try to go out there and like stay out there for a few months and take care of her. But I would love to come out there and create some like content with you and just kind of like build with you while we're out there. So let's continue to work on that. But let people know where they can support what Circle City is doing. The whole reason we have brands on the show is not just so we can drink delicious whiskey, but also to let people know, hey, you don't need to drink Captain Morgan and Coke every night when you're watching the game. There's good stuff out. So let people know where they can follow and support you.
So on Instagram at Circle City Whiskey Co., Facebook Circle City Whiskey Company, and we have, if you search Circle City Whiskey Company on TikTok. I'm not great about TikTok, but we're trying to get better. And then if anybody's in Indianapolis, we got a tasting room, 2032 East 46th Street, which is the north side of Indianapolis. So just north of the fairgrounds in Indianapolis, just north of downtown. So appreciate you guys. And if you're in Indiana, please reach out, man. Come in. We'll have a great time.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we're definitely going to get there. We're hoping June, July, the latest. But I definitely will let you know when I get there. But I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for being part of it.
Very nice meeting you. Thank you so much.
Nice
Same with you guys. I appreciate you guys, and go Pacers. And I'll root a little less hard against your Knicks for the playoffs, but I can't promise much.
It's the least you could do. Appreciate it.
Hey, Giants had a good draft too, so
I promise you, I have enough footage on my hard drive to be able to keep this video until next year when we see you guys. So I'm looking forward to having you on the show, and as I intro you, playing all these clips of you talking smack about the Knicks. I can't wait.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Hey, have a good night, guys.
I don't feel bad anymore asking about the Robusto because you talked enough smack about the Knicks that it's kind of cool. So I'm good.
I'll get you taken care of.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you guys.
Later, Drew.
Yo, what's the Robusto?
The Robusto is their Cigar City blend. Blend, yes. But it's a mix of their double oaked and a whole bunch of others. So
that sounds awesome.
Without the typical way of doing a cigar blend. But
that sounds awesome. Yeah, they're doing some cool stuff over there, man. Yeah.
Those pours were absolutely delicious.
I really enjoyed them, guys, and they got them on the website right now. I'm definitely going to put in an order for both of them. But the bottle and bond is $55, so that's easy purchase right away.
Seriously, delicious. And more than anything, the reason I love this show is you really get to know the people that are behind the brand, and that makes me want to purchase and support them even more because they're just standout people. You know, like
Yeah.
regardless of whether he's a Pacer fan or not, he's a good dude,
Good
and he loves the game of basketball just like
And that was awesome that he loved basketball. He knows ball too.
He knows ball.
But the other thing is like he cares like about what he's doing. He's just not like cranking out like volume and just trying to like make a bunch of sales. He's like cares about his craft, and you can tell in the juice, man. It's really good.
Yeah.
So we got about 30 minutes left, but Mr. Old Man Apollo Reed's got work in the morning, so he can't be here. So Apollo, before I bring up Tony Tone and I bring up Joe again, what are your thoughts? Do you think we lock it down in this next game? We call it 6?
I call it 6, man. I think we handle business. I think we figured something out in terms of running the ball through, the system through Cat.
Yep.
Hopefully McCall comes around. Maybe he'll have this one good game, and it'll be the one good game he has this series. But I do think that if you continue to run the system through Cat, it's a lot harder for you to predict what we're going to do and respond to it.
So before you leave, I'm going to bring up a touchy little subject. All right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I created this image. All right. And this is what we're going to talk about with Tone and with Joe and anyone else from the panel that wants to hop up. But in my opinion, this is how we have to approach the rest of the playoffs. And I know it's going to piss some people off, but I don't give a rip. Like at the end of the day, I want people to love Jesus. I want people to enjoy good whiskey, and I want them to realize that their basketball takes are outdated. And I want a chip, and I don't care about your favorite player. So I'm going to talk about it. All right. This is how I feel like the rest of the series needs to go. This picture shows it all. Here we go. Boom. All right. The whip needs to be driven by Karl Anthony Towns. And Mr. Timberwolves needs to ride shotgun. And all these guys can come along for the ride. And Mikal Bridges needs to figure something out because he looks like he's homeless. Like he's playing to the point where he's gonna have no home this summer. All right. We're gonna be shopping this bum anywhere. Got any room? No, we ain't got no room till you figure it the frick out. All right. So I want your thoughts real quick, Apollo, on getting to a run things centered around Cat type of offense for the rest of the series. What are your thoughts?
I think that's where we've shown we can be the most effective. You know what I mean? It keeps Brunson. It opens things up for Brunson. First of all, there's so many mismatches that Cat sees on a night-to-night basis, especially in the series. He has to take advantage of those. The guys are moving without the ball. That's the most beautiful thing. One thing that frustrated me back in the days, being a big Melo fan, but one thing that frustrated me during that era was watching everybody stand around and watching, just watching him dribble. And I'm like, yo, no one's gonna cut backdoor, nothing, anything. So, to see OG cutting backdoor and Josh and everybody else just moving, the ball continuing to move, body movement, and not just one guy dribbling the ball. And that's not a shot at Jalen. I think it's a really good. I gotta give credit to Mike Brown once again for changing that up and putting the ball in Cat's hands to make sure that we're very unguardable in a lot of situations. So I think I like that. I think that's what we should do. Man.
Yeah, I agree. All right, since you got to go because you're an old man, let everyone know where they can follow you.
Guard Up Knicks everywhere, man. And shout out to It's All Good podcast, the All Good Bro podcast. I got their shirt on. They are a Mets podcast. So there are some Nets fans out there. Listen, so if you wanted to, go over to their channel and show them some love, man. It's my guy, Phil and Joe. I've known these guys for a long time, worked with them back in the day. So shout out to them, man. So that's it. That's where you can find me, Guard Up Knicks. And until next time, I'll let y'all, man. Salute to you, Phil and Al. Yeah, let's get this dub tomorrow, y'all.
You already know. Know.
All right.
Peace out. Peace out.
Later.
All right. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up the panel. All right. We got one of my favorites. All right. Mr. Real Talk himself. We got to work on that name though, because there's already one called Real Talk Knicks. So we got to make sure that those don't, conflict. But Tony Tone, this is the guy that's on the come up. All right, y'all don't even know. Like this guy is a humble, awesome man, loving father, loving husband, just a man of character who loves the game of basketball. And any time that I can give him a platform, I'm gonna give it to him. So I'm gonna bring up Tony Tone, and then I'm gonna bring up our guy Joe. He came earlier, dropped some bars, walked away from the cipher. Now he's coming back to drop some more hot fire like Dylan Dillinger. All right, hot fire after hot fire. All right, so we're gonna bring them both back up to the panel. Anybody who wants to come up and chop it up, feel free to. The chat is in the chat is the open link to be able to come up to the panel. But without further ado, here's my guy Tone and my guy Joe. What up, boys?
Hey, let's go, man.
Yeah.
I've been
What's going
saying
on,
this
what's going
team
on, guys?
fights, man. I've
How we
been
doing
saying
today?
this team's got grit. Let's go, baby.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, boys. So before we talk about some of the other stuff we were talking about earlier, all right, I'm gonna revisit some of the things we talked about. But what are your guys' thoughts? Because on this image right here, because for me, I feel like in these last two games, it's shown who our 1A needs to be, at least in this series.
Yeah.
And it's a changing of the crown. And I criticized Cat a lot earlier in the season when he was straight up basura. But in these last few games, he has shown the way to the second round of the playoffs to guarantee us the second round is doing things through Cat. It makes Cat better. It makes our role players better. And it also opens up opportunities for Jalen Brunson to have a 39-point game, because the team is that we're going against is worried about what Karl Anthony Towns can and will do. So what are your guys' thoughts about switching the role of 1A to Cat for this series and possibly the next, depending on what it looks like? I'll go to you first, Tone.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. And respect to Real Talk Knicks. I wasn't familiar with that group, but respect to that group as well. But to specific to your question, yes, I love this photo. This is hilarious. The keys to Towns is awesome. One thing that I would say is Brunson riding shotgun and wanting shotgun. I'm all for Brunson being shotgun. And the reason I say that is that last game that we saw, Brunson's had a super efficient game, and it didn't even look like he had an efficient game. And what I mean by that is it didn't look like he had the ball a lot. It didn't look like the ball stuck. The ball was moving, but he ended up with 39 points. So to me, that is exactly how I want to see the Knicks play. Honestly, the rest of the playoffs. Again, it's going to be matchup dependent. However, to close out this series, to your question, absolutely Towns with the keys to the caddy, and then we got Brunson riding right next to him in the front seat. Shotty, I'm with that.
You know what's crazy is with Cat being behind the wheel, Jalen Brunson had his best game of the series.
Exactly.
Like, you can still be the number one scorer, yet he also had 8 assists. And there wasn't a bunch of double teams on Jalen Brunson because they were worried about what Cat could do from the previous game. So for me, you let him drive so that you could be out the window causing a ruckus. And that's the best way for Jalen Brunson, because in this series, they were locking Jalen down. In those 2 games that they beat us, Jalen Brunson was ineffective in the fourth. They continued to lock him down because they did not think that he would incorporate anybody else into the offense. So with Cat having that crazy fourth game allowed him to have that killer fifth game, because Cat was still just as involved in game 5 as he was game 4. So I agree with you completely, Tone. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Hey, man, this picture's awesome. I don't know where you got this from, but there's
I made it.
a couple things I want to change, though. First off, OG's got to put on them neon sneakers because I don't remember him wearing those.
Nah, he stopped wearing those neon sneakers when
The
Super Bowl
Skechers.
called him out of bounds because
That was crazy.
That was a crazy play, man. Can you guys believe that the ref got that mixed up? I couldn't believe what I was
That's
seeing.
bad. Like, that's
It
grounds
wasn't
for termination. Like, how do you
even more of a crazy thing? Can you believe that two players were both wearing neon yellow sneakers and playing
Yeah, right.
each other?
Well, there's one other thing I would change about this too, and that's putting in Jeremy Sohan fixing the engine with the mechanic.
What is it?
Great.
Put in Jeremy Sohan as the mechanic fixing the engine.
Yes, sir. Nah, Sohan was great, but look, you see Bridges out there. He don't even got a seat in the car right now.
Yeah, I know. I hate doing Bridges like this just because what he did for us last year in the playoffs.
I don't give a crap.
No, I know. It's just, man, come on, Bridges.
I look at my relationship right now and be like, it's all right, babe. You're cheating on me right now, but you were faithful last year. Like, heck no.
I hear you. But those games in Boston when we took those first two games, man. That will always be a sentimental series for me just because of my relationship with Boston fans and how much, I'm a Yankees fan, all New York teams, man. And I just can't stand Boston, man. I can't stand them. Can't stand them, man. So that series definitely holds a little place in my heart. Yep. But no, overall, man, awesome graphics. Salute to you, Phil. I'm loving this. But now in the game, I'm seeing us run a lot of stuff that it's really helping us. I just love seeing Brunson get off ball. And I want to say, before we were talking about this, when Cat has 10 assists, that means someone else is going off. So by Cat being that, not main ball distributor, but by giving him the ball, getting Brunson off ball, it's getting OG involved. He's getting his touches, and OG's thriving right now, man. I feel like OG should be the one sitting in that front seat right now, man. The way that he's getting rebounds and the way that he's hitting the corner three, oh, man.
Yeah, you can make that argument.
You can. Right now, the only thing that you can't make that argument is that Cat has also had just as many rebounds as OG has, but also the mismatches are going to be in Cat's advantage this season. In this series alone.
That's why I love having him on the ball because he's just passing the ball over everyone. Like Kuminga's up on him, and Kuminga can't even touch him. And it's just an open passer to do whatever he wants. And all we got to do is, like I said, you set them screens and set that misdirection. We get that open lane, boom, 3 points. And that's what I've been saying all year. We got to make the game easier for us, guys. We got to make the basketball game run smoother by moving the ball. But I was also saying there's a difference between good ball movement and poor ball movement. Just because you have assists and just because you're moving the basketball doesn't mean that you're running the high IQ plays that we need to win a series. And Mike Brown, I give him all the credit because I didn't know if he was going to be able to do it. But in that game 4, he showed us. I know what a cross screen is. I know what a flare screen is, and we're going to run it, and we're going to make this Hawks team double us. Because if this Hawks team, they lose their man, I'm just going to say, the Hawks team right now, they have no idea what's going on. They are losing their man. They're missing assignments. They're not rotating. Listen, man, this Hawks team, I'm going to say it again, on defense anyway, they're cooked. And our defense looks legit. We look like a top 5 defense right now, and it's scary. We're looking scary, Phil.
I agree.
Real scary.
And so,
I got Joe Cook.
To that point, all right, I want to bring up my homegirl, Miss Nixon-ish. Shout out to them. All right. They just reached 1,000 subscribers. Shout out to them. They've been putting in work. These are, I believe there's 4 of them. But they are just some of the kindest people you will meet within the Knicks community. Like straight up conversating with any of them is seriously a delight. And so anytime that I can have them on, open up the platform for them to shine, I'm going to bring them on because they are great people, great takes, and full on basketball. Like I hung out with her and her crew and her family at the last game that I went to I think I was in Dallas. And it was just a delight to hang out with them in halftime and kind of just build with them. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her up and let her give her take on this image of handing over the keys to Karl Anthony Towns for the rest of the series and seeing how it looks. So, without further ado, here's my homegirl, Miss Nixon-ish.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, girl.
How are y'all?
What up?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We're winning, so I'm really good.
Facts.
Let's go.
All right, so I got to get your thoughts on the image. All right, like looking at these two games, I feel like these two games were leaps and bounds better and different than the first three of the series. Like even the game that we won, like I was less impressed with that than the last two games that we played, and I feel like Cat was the huge impact in that. And this is someone that criticized Cat in the early half of the season, was like, get it together or pack your freaking bags, Mr. Bodega. But I feel like he has turned a new leaf. And in these two games, he has shown that he deserves to be the 1A in this series. So what are your thoughts?
I have been saying it literally all season. All season. And not because I don't like Jalen Brunson. I love Jalen Brunson. I just feel like we have an advantage over the majority of teams in the league, and we hadn't been taking advantage of it. And the advantage is Cat. I mean, let's be real. How many teams have someone that can stop him? Not many. Right? And when you get him going early, there's multiple things that you see. You see the floor open up for everyone else, including Jalen Brunson. You know, everybody gave Jalen, his props for scoring 39 yesterday, but that wouldn't have happened without all the attention being on Cat because of game 4.
Looking.
So especially in this series, they have absolutely no answer for Cat. If they thought Dyson Daniels was going to stop him, they're absolutely wrong. He can't even stop Jalen Brunson. Never mind try to stop Cat. So this is absolutely what it should be the rest of the game, the rest of the season, the rest of the series. Sorry. I think the first play tomorrow should be this what we've been playing. Let's see them. Let's see what their adjustment is, and then we move from there. But this is what I've been saying. Literally, if you go back and watch Nixon-ish all season, I said Cat needs to run the offense. It needs to run through him. And not only does it open the floor, but when you get him going early, defensively, he's locked in. He's locked in. There's a huge difference in when he doesn't touch the ball, what he does defensively, than when he's involved, what he does defensively.
Yo, give her a round of applause. Hit the round of applause button, bro. She cooked.
Yeah.
Absolutely cooked. Holy crap.
And this is why I support her and her crew. These are my peoples. And so
that was
one thing that I said was like, when Cat started figuring out a way to contribute, that he wasn't scoring the way that we wanted him to, but he was finding other ways to be impactful. And we saw even Jalen Brunson's dad saying, run the offense through Cat in certain games. It showed what she is saying. If you look at the only other center in the league that is actually considered MVP candidate, who is it? Nikola Jokic. And why? Because Nikola can score, but he can also swish and dish. He can find assists with the best of them. When you look at a player like Karl Anthony Towns that can get 10 assists in a game and still shooting 70% on the night, there is something special that is happening. And he doesn't need to put up 20-something points a game. His limitations, regardless of whether Knicks fans want to agree with it or not, his limitations are less than Jalen Brunson's limitations. Because Jalen's got the best footwork in the game, but footwork means nothing when you're double teamed by two guys that are 6'7" and higher. Like, your footwork does nothing. Like, you could do the bachata for all I freaking care on the court with a basketball. You could do the mambo. You're still not scoring. They're locking you down. But Cat being effective now frees you up to be able to put up a 39-point game. That 39-point game, like I said, and Nixonish just backed it up completely. That game does not happen without Cat's previous game, which made the Hawks in fits, not knowing how to stop him. Those other two games where Jalen Brunson tried to be completely Captain Clutch on his own, superhero in the fourth quarter, icing out Cat, made them be able to stop him. And that cost us those two games. When Cat was able to be who Cat is, it allowed Jalen Brunson to be more effective. So what do we always say? One thing that me and Lee have said nonstop throughout this whole season was the difference of Cade Cunningham and Jalen Brunson is that Cade Cunningham has made his players better, not just himself. He's made the rest of his team better. That's what Karl Anthony Towns has done for Jalen Brunson in these last two games. He's made Jalen Brunson better by him being better. And so for me, we have to go the rest of the series with Cat as our number one option. Brunson has to sacrifice his pride so that we can make it to the second round. And honestly, that might be what it looks like for the rest of the playoffs. And Jalen needs to be willing to be captain of the team by being sacrificial. A real captain sacrifices. You watch any childhood movie that we watched, from the Mighty Ducks to anything else, and the real captain was the captain that was willing to say, it's about the win and it's about the team. It's not about me. And that's what Jalen Brunson needs to do. And one guy that has agreed with me on that time after time throughout the season is my Latin brother, my assassin brother, the guy that sometimes we shoot at each other, but we're still shooting. All right. This is my guy, Mr. Lee Escobedo. And so, I got to bring him up to get his thoughts and see what he has to say about this. What up, Mr.
Lee was good.
House, let's go.
Let's go, Papa.
Tony Tone,
I need
out
to
from
know-
Harlem. Miss Nips and Ish, and my main brother, Phil Porto.
All right, bro. I need to know your thoughts on this graphic. All right. We got Mr. Mikal Bridges being a straight bum, just hoping he can get a ride. We got Karl Anthony Towns with the keys in his hand saying, nah, bro, this is my whip. Jalen Brunson saying, fine, I'll ride shotgun. What are your thoughts, Lee?
Wait, hold on, Lee. Before you jump in, there was another iteration of this graphic before this, and the guy in the back did not have on a Knicks shirt. He just had on like a regular shirt. And Apollo goes, "Who's the guy in the back?" And I'm like, I responded, I'm like, "That's Mikal Bridges, a bum. He's a bum."
So here's the thing. This is the right now. This is the if he continues to play the way that he did. This is the off season. He's got no Knicks jersey on. All right. This is the off season Mikal Bridges if he keeps on going the way he's going. All right. So what are your thoughts, Lee?
Phil, I think I was listening to the show. Agree 100% with Miss Nits and Ish, which doesn't surprise me. I don't think her and I have ever disagreed. I love the way her brain works. I think she's one of the more intelligent Knicks fans we have in this YouTube community. Phil, I think I'm going to take it a little bit further, and I think you feel this way too. You might not be ready to say it. I think moving forward, Karl Anthony Towns should be the number one option. Yep. I think we should run the offense through him continuously in every round of this play. And every season moving forward, as long as those two on the team, it just makes more sense. It's bigger gravity. It's better opportunities for everybody else. And Cat seems to make his teammates better at a level even higher than Jalen Brunson by his sheer force and ability as a decoy, even if he's not shooting. So why not run the offense through your 7-foot big man who can shoot threes, post up, and hit mid-range? It made sense to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. At the end of the day, though he's the point guard, he's not known for the assists, at the end of the day. Cat can get 10 assists easily at the end of the night. It looks more of a chore for Jalen Brunson to get 8 assists. And at the end of the day, I love them both, but Cat does have the better bag when it comes to leading the team. you see it more effortless. Like one thing we've talked about is how Cade throughout the season, he struggled a little bit, in these playoffs, but he's made his other players better. And that's why he's the number one option. Cat makes OG better. Cat makes Alvarado better. Cat makes Hart better. You can't really say that about Jalen Brunson, that he makes the other guys around him better. And so I agree with you. Right now, Cat has proven, and from going to a point where you and I were both ready to pack Cat's bags in the early part of the season to now,
Yep.
we're saying what we're saying because he has proven and earned it. Like he
Yep.
has worked hard to make it work. And he's had the biggest adjustment when it came to the way that Mike Brown wanted to run this team. He made the biggest adjustments, and he's the one that's making us thrive here when it matters the most. So I agree. It has to go through Cat. And the problem is I don't know if Jalen Brunson can be humble enough to allow that to happen.
No, he can't.
And that's the problem. Is will it cost us a series because of his ego?
I think we've moved past that point, to be honest. I kind of disagree. I think Jalen had that epiphany in game 4, and that's why it translated into game 5. And I think a lot of it has to do with Mike Brown. Listen, I see Mike Brown getting in Deuce's ear and showing him where to set screens and where Deuce has got to be on the floor. Listen, Mike Brown, I think he's a lot better than we have given him credit for this year.
Yep.
And, Towns as well. He had that little miss in the middle of the season. He wasn't doing too well with his passing and his shooting, but now he's really turned it on. He's, I feel like he's leveling up in real time, and we're getting to see it in real time, versus just him not playing to his capabilities, if that makes any sense.
And there's still another ceiling to get to. Like, it's amazing how he's opened up the game for the rest of the team, and he's not even banging threes. Imagine if he is shooting 8 threes a game and hitting 4 of them. Like, oh my God, that'll be lights out. That's chip. If he can start doing that again, that's a chip. I promise you, that's a chip.
Yeah.
What
do you
I would say
Stone?
I would say historically speaking, though, with Brunson, we do see an ebb and flow with him playing team ball. They'll go on a run, and then all of a sudden he kind of reverts back to his ways. And I love Brunson, but I'm just talking about what I've seen from him over the seasons. And that is something that would be a level of concern to me, particularly when he's going up against any premier point guards. We know that he falls into that bag when he's playing against those top-notch guards in the league. So, again, I just hope it doesn't happen, but that's just something for us to watch out for.
Yeah, and that's one thing me and Lee have talked about nonstop this season. When Jalen Brunson feels like he's going up against another star that has the same role as him, he wants to prove that he's the better of the two.
Yep.
So right now it's a little easier because their guard is not right now like the main guy, their point guard. Like Johnson's a huge factor. You saw the games where McCollum was going. What did he try to do? He tried to go tick for tack in that fourth quarter, and he cost us the game. Jalen Brunson cost us the game. At the end of the day, regardless of whether Brunsonites want to admit it, he cost us the game. In the last 2 games where McCollum was shut down and they had to find another option, their guards weren't the ones that were leading the pace. And so Jalen Brunson didn't have to prove himself as much. But you go into the next series where we're going up against Boston, where Jaylen Brown is their main guy. Is Brunson going to revert back to I have to prove myself mentality? And so that's why for me, I would rather Mike Brown have the cojones and say, hey, those keys that you had for so long under Thibodeau, I'm handing them to Cat, right now, before it becomes an issue. For me, I want to see Cat have the keys because I don't feel like Cat performs with something to prove. I feel like Cat has worked to prove something more to himself than anything else. Finding a way, hey, my three's not really landing the way that it's been. I've been known as the big guy with the 3-point shot, and that's not really working right now. What else can I do to help us win? That's a different mentality than I have to
Yeah.
be the guy. And
Yeah.
I think that's what makes me go, make him the guy, is
Yeah.
because he's trying to get the Knicks to win. He's not trying to get Karl Anthony Towns to win. And
Yeah,
sometimes I feel like Jalen Brunson is trying to get Jalen Brunson to win.
So
people give Cat crap for like not being aggressive and calling for the ball and doing. I don't think that, and people say that makes him like soft or whatever. I don't think that that's softness. I think he's a really like big time team player, and he's like not trying. He's nice in the sense that he's not trying to step on anyone's toes. If it's Jalen Brunson's team, quote unquote, he'll fit in where he could fit in. But if Mike Brown turns to him and goes, "Yo, you're the guy," he's gonna make it work. But he's the ultimate team player. And going into this series, we all knew that this should be a Cat series. They have no one that can stop him. I think we should continue to feature him. I won't go as far as to saying like every series after this. I think we gotta strike a good balance where we can. But I think we've seen throughout the course of the regular season, we haven't had a good balance. We've been very Jalen Brunson dominant. And I think in the series going forward, we need to definitely feature Cat more. We've been clamoring for that the whole year. We're finally doing it now. It's yielding results, and we got to stay with it throughout the rest of the playoffs because it's going to get us to where we need to be. And that's a chip, baby. That's a chip.
I agree. Shout out to everyone in the chat blowing it up. My guy Fritz continuing to show love.
Love Fritz.
Everybody else that's doing it. Guess what, guys? Super chats are welcome. You can drop that, Skrilla on us. We ain't gonna say no to it. That puts some food on the table. It's 10:31 at night. My wife's not even in our bedroom right now. She's chilling in the other room, saying, "All right, keep talking your talk." That deserves a little bit of super chat. Tony Tone's here visiting. And he's hanging out. Joe's here. Miss Nixon-ish is here. I want to bless them a little bit too. I can't bless them when I'm broke. Y'all need to super chat it up. So, I want to take Mr. Lee Escobedo out to another coffee when we go to, when I go back.
Oh,
and I need y'all. All right. So let's talk game 6 before we wrap up. What's everybody's thoughts? For me, I'll keep it short and sweet. I think we need to not stray away from what we did in game 5, and we lock it up. Like, we lock it up in Atlanta. We go home, get a little bit of rest before the next series. But I'll go with you first, Miss Nixon-ish. What are your thoughts on game 6?
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
I think I agree with you. I think we need to build off what we did in game 4 and 5. I think the first play, like I said, needs to go through Cat. We need to see, what cards they're going to play to start. And we adjust that way. I think we need to come out as aggressive defensively as we did in game 5. I think a lot of people don't talk about how good our defense looked last game. Looked super good. I mean, every time, McCollum had the ball, Jalen Johnson had the ball, it was hell. Or Nickel Alexander Walker, it was hell. They went through 2 or 3 of our guys before they got to the basket, and we need to continue that. I think the offense runs through Cat. It runs through Cat unless they're going to try and double Cat. And then if they do that, it's going to be a Jalen Brunson game, and it's a wrap. They should just not pack a suitcase because this series is over tomorrow.
Let's go.
Yo, I love that. I'm going to do a little applause for that because, the whole don't even pack a suitcase. That's called courtesy. Us as Knicks content creators, we have compassion in our hearts. We want the Hawks to save time. Don't spend time away from your family packing a bag. Don't think about what flight you have to take or what you're going to eat in New York City. You're not going there. Like, game is over. You're going home tomorrow night. Like, you're going to leave the court. You're going to drive to your home within 30 minutes to 60 minutes, and you're going to enjoy your summer. Think about your family. We're giving you guys family time. This is vacation time. Cancun, Bahamas, Bermuda, wherever you want to go. This is your time to do it, Atlanta. All right, Mr. Escobedo, what are your thoughts?
First of all, I want to say how grateful I am to be able to share this the stage with this panel. This is a very esteemed panel, and I want to give a special shout out to my Dallas sister, Miss Nitsanish, who, again, as I said, I think you worded it perfectly. She's also a kind soul, but she will snap at you if you try to date her with a bad take on Twitter. I'm not afraid to stand her ground, but she's one of the few people I never found myself disagreeing with her point of view. And I think she's one of my favorite Mount Rushmore Knit fans on Knit's Twitter. So I just wanted to give her some double blessings and flowers while she joined our show. I agree. I think our bench needs to be significant in their contribution to tomorrow's game. I think Orlando had trouble closing out Detroit today. Obviously, they didn't have Franz, but really Anthony Black was the only one who chipped in significantly off their bench. They had to rely a lot on Paolo Banchero. I hope our bench comes through and puts the foot on the net of the hot second unit, because I think they're going to break out Buddy Hield this next game to try to do some shooting off the bench in place of Corey Kispert, who got absolutely obliterated by Jalen Brunson. Everybody else who he tried to guard on switches, he was awful and has given him nothing all series. You might even see Zachary Ricochet, although I think that's less likely than Buddy Hield. I think Kamina's going to come out and try to be dominant off the bench as well. So if our bench can match some of that energy, Mitch is going to do Mitch things. Now he's getting lobs and pick and roll, setting those inverted screens and getting rolling to the basket. Fantastic. But also I want to give props to Jordan Clarkson and Deuce and Bride. They're shooting and scoring mid-range and floaters. To me, that's what we win by 20 by. If we had to depend on a Jalen Brunson 30-piece or a Cat near triple-double, yes, we can win, but I want to blow out, y'all. I started becoming a fan in 2002. I missed the Ewing 90s. I missed the 99 finals. I started watching when we were ass. Glenn Rice, Gucci Norris, Othello Harrington. I saw that 04 team.
Yo, you're a real fan.
Bless you.
You are a real fan, Lee.
Scott Layden years, going into the Donnie Walsh years, Glenn Grunwald, then to, real bad, Phil Jackson, Steve Mills.
Oh, Phil Jackson.
Awful.
I will slap
No.
Phil Jackson if I see him.
This is last game was the first playoff game I ever watched that I had fun watching. I either wasn't stressed or pissed. I actually had fun, and that was a great feeling. I want to feel again, and then only the Knicks can deliver it to me tomorrow.
I love
Yes,
it.
sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
Lee, that was a great take. One thing for me that I'm excited about, and this is kind of why I'm excited to have Mike Brown as opposed to Tom Thibodeau in this part of our, playoff run, is I feel like it is important to have a bench that's going to contribute in this next game. Like, I really feel like this is the Jose Alvarado type of moments that we need to continue. And Jose's on a high. We're utilizing him. We're giving him praise. And for a guy like Jose, who loves, the spotlight, the more you give him, the more hungry he is to deliver. And so I think that that's a huge, huge opportunity. And so that's why I want to do this real quick before I go to Tone and Joe and Al. This is my run that back moment. Because we have a coach right now who's actually utilizing the bench. So we don't have to watch moments like these and go, frickin' A. If we actually had a coach that would have played our bench more, this could have been.
Shout out Tibbs.
So, all right.
Sorry.
Shout out to Tibbs. This is my guy, the guy that I wanted to die as a New York Knicks, Mr. Quentin Grimes, making
I didn't see this. So.
Brown look like a complete bum.
Yeah,
I heard he had him in jail last night.
So here's Grimes from 3, like nothing.
it's when he's face guarding them.
Oh yeah, when he guards him, it destroys him. Here it comes. Man, this is beauty.
Mm.
Look at this. No,
Harassing. He's harassing him. Oh man. He don't have a handle. He's known to not have a handle.
Right.
Good D. Good D.
Right.
It's like
So-
actually someone with no handle though.
shout out to Quentin Grimes, and also shout out to Mike Brown actually utilizing our bench, so we don't have to watch this next season and go, if only we had something like that in the playoffs. So allow Alvarado to cook, allow him to go, and honestly, shout out to Mike Brown because Landry Shamet was his guy all season, and for someone to go away from his guy to do what's best for the team, that shows a huge like leaps and bounds difference in our coaching this year.
Yep.
Because we had so many times that we were like, I don't care if that's your guy, Tibbs, sit him on the bench. He's a bum. And Tibbs didn't do it. So shout out to him. All right.
Can I jump in real quick? 1 second. Just to add on to what you said about Jose, let's not forget he was called out, right? Because after yesterday's game, Onyeka Okongwu said, Brunson and Cat are going to do whatever they want, but we can't let guys like Jose Alvarado
I
get in
didn't
the
know that.
paint. Teams just don't learn. Don't call our guys out because you're going to get the work. So I expect Jose to give them the work.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
That's it right there.
It's so
Let's
stupid.
go.
Like, there's so many players on our team that you can call out that aren't going to show up the next game and make you eat your words. Jose Alvarado is not that guy. Jose Alvarado is like, why would you walk up to a possible lion and slap them in the face just because they're sleeping? Like, what's going to happen to you next is a bad situation. And Jose Alvarado is one of those kind of players where he will die tomorrow to prove that you're an idiot for saying that.
I also love that our team isn't dumb enough to do stuff like that.
Yep.
Like to give other teams bulletin board material. Like we're silent killers. Like, bro, we show up on the court. Like we don't need to be doing the talking in the press. Like that's not where the game is won. And like I like that about our team.
All right, while you're at it, Al, what are your thoughts on this game?
I'm gonna give a different take on this because I know everyone is like, yo, we're gonna win game 6, we're on a high. I like to throw caution in the wind. And if we don't show up, what's around the corner is a game 7. And that's scary. I do not want a game 7 at all because I will be shaking in my boots. In game 7, anything can happen. So the Knicks got to show up and put their foots on these guys' neck and take them out. I agree with everything that everyone said, right? The path to victory and all that kind of stuff. We got to do that. But I worry like around the corner is game 7. I don't want it to get to that because that's super scary. That's super scary. Everyone thinks that we won already. We're in round 2. Hold on, we're not in round 2 yet. And if we lose, what's around the corner is mad scary. So that's kind of where my head's at and what I'm thinking. I do think we're gonna win, obviously, but I just think about worst case scenario and I start getting nervous.
I'll give my thoughts on that after, but I'm gonna let Tony Tone give his thoughts.
Tony.
Yeah, yes, sir. So Knicks and 6. That's what I'm going with. That's what I'm rolling with. Yeah. So with that said, I'm looking at OG Anunoby. Do you know me? That's my little rhyme for him. I like what he puts out on the court. And honestly, he's like a Swiss Army knife. Looking at his stats, and I'm sure you went over this earlier, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 assist, 1 block. Bro literally filled up the stats. He did everything that you can do on the court. So I'm looking at OG to have a great game, a very impactful game to close out game 6. Also, of everything we all said, running through Towns, him being the center of the offense. I think Brunson has a great game, similar to, or repeated game 5, essentially. And then from the bench, we were talking about Alvarado. So GTA, I absolutely seeing him coming out, showing out like he's in the Garden, putting in that grit, having an impactful game as well. And then lastly, Mitch Robb. I definitely see him showing out, offensive boards, him attacking the paint, getting those putbacks, and just Lob City. And I just can't wait to see those in game 6. I'm sure Atlanta's going to make adjustments, but again, if they continue to play through Cat, I really don't see what the alternative is for them. They double up on Cat, as Mrs. Nick said earlier, then they pass it out to Brunson, and then Brunson has a big game. So, either way, it's like pick your poison. So Knicks and 6, y'all.
Let's go.
Love it. All right, Joe. I'm going to have you give your thoughts before I give mine.
Yeah, man, for me, it's all about, replicating success. We did what we did in game 4 and game 5, and that was good for me to see. But there's one thing I really want to touch on. I don't know if you guys talked about it yet, but the Hawks, they shot 31% from 3. So we got to make sure we continue to have that good defense and make sure they don't hit their threes. And for us on the other end, we shot 60% from the field because we were getting in the paint and we were living from two. So if we can keep the equation that we're using, make sure we're killing them in the paint, we're getting our 2-pointers. You know, every time we get a rebound, we run and we convert in transition. That's going to be the make or break, because this Hawks team, they're going to try to get a 42 3-pointers. And hopefully they only make 30% of them, because if that's the case, we're going to win this game 6, and there isn't going to be a game 7, because this Hawks team is relying on making their threes, and that's all they got, because our defense is way too good. Our offense is way too good. So if you ask me, I don't see this going to game 7. I see us wrapping this up in ATL.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yes,
Cool.
sir. Yes,
All right.
sir.
So with my thoughts, you know, I believe I've said it since day one that it was Knicks in 6, and I believe it is. And here's one thing I'm going to share real quick on the screen, because when you have guys like this on the bench that get it, it shows that it's not just him, but the rest of the team that understands the importance of this next game. So I'm actually going to put the volume up.
JC.
Short enough that I'm not going to deal with any legality issues.
21 on the glass. Like you mentioned, the transition defense, only limited to 4 fast break points. How important were those 2 factors in the game tonight?
Big time. Coming into Atlanta, they're going to try to rear their team up, and we're playing for their lives down there. So, got to continue to focus, continue to do what we've been doing at a higher level now to finish them off.
Plus 21.
So when you have guys on your bench saying, what we've done, we needed to do it, and then we need to finish them off. Like, he understands the task at hand, which means...
Did you hear
that-
Cat's quote?
Which one?
Cat said, the toughest game to win is the game where you're trying to end someone's season.
Exactly. Yep.
So they know, like, this is going to be a hard game.
Exactly. So for them, they're not looking for a game 7. They're looking for, like, cutthroat game 6.
Yeah.
And
I need it.
how many interviews have we all watched as Knicks content creators and been like, what are you talking about? They wanted it more. What are you talking about? You just didn't deliver. Like, that's not an excuse. But for them to say, this is the end point, this is where we are ending their season, that shows that they understand the importance of this next game. And so for me, regardless of whatever, I think this is it. The only way it's not is if Jalen Brunson reverts back to selfish ways. And I'm hoping after these last 2 games where he has seen that he can still get his shine and be considered player of the game by letting Cat have the keys, I think that is going to be our key. If he allows that to fuel him in this game and the rest of the playoffs, this team is going to be tough to beat. Like, absolutely tough to beat. So the only thing for me that makes us take a step back is if Jalen Brunson's ego gets in the way. And I'm hoping that does not happen.
I don't think it'll happen, because there was that clip going around the Twitterverse where, shout out to Rick, man. Rick put his feet to the fire, and Rick was calling him out on the sidelines, and he was like, pass the freaking ball. Like,
Move the ball.
yeah.
That is actually the first time that I've felt like I did not want Rick Brunson on our coaching staff. But he saw what was at hand, and he called him out and said, pass the freaking ball.
Yep.
And that's what Jalen needs to hear, is people that are saying, I don't care who you are or who you think you are. There's a team at stake here. There's a championship at stake here. There's jobs at stake here. If you want this to last, stop being so prideful. And I loved watching that clip. So for me, I'm hoping that we take it in 6, get a little bit of rest before this next series, because we're going to need it against Boston. But I think that if we keep playing the way that we do, this team is going to thrive, and it's going to be beautiful. And so I'm excited for it. I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited to continue to grow with everybody on this freaking panel. This is seriously such a blessing. Tone, let everybody know where they can follow and support you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm on Facebook, Tony Tones Real Talk, as you see it written there. I'm also on Instagram as well.
I love it. I love it. Support him. He is seriously a new and upcoming beautiful basketball mind, but even better than that, the reason I get behind him is because not only are his takes solid, but he's even better as a man and a family man, and it's someone that actually is worth supporting as a person as well as a content creator. So make sure you support my guy Tone. Joe, let people know where they can follow you, my guy.
Hey, man, you guys can follow me, Joe from AC on YouTube. I got a new video out talking about Jalen Brunson cross screening and stuff like that. Check me out. I just started the platform up, so it's only been up for a couple of weeks, but I'm hoping, over time we get it running. So I'll have some panel talk and everything.
Yeah, we'll get there, bro. We'll get there. All right, Mr. Lee Escobedo, Latin Assassin. Let people know where they can follow you in the Substack.
You can argue with me on Twitter at _Lee Escobedo, LESCOBEDO. I love this mode, Brandon, in every way, political, sports. I don't care. Debating is my number one favorite hobby. I also going to have some Substack heat this week. Once we close out tomorrow in Game 6, I'll have a full series breakdown, as well as have an incoming interview with my main man, Tony Tone. I hope to complete by this weekend and then publish that next week, introducing him to Knit fans, his channel and his presence on Facebook and other social media platforms, and him as a person and fan.
I love it. I love it. Quick update, real quick, before I go to Knicks and Pistons now are 3-2, and Orlando still leads the series, but they won 116-109. Tonight, the Cavaliers won, even though the playing great. They still won at 125-120, and now they lead 3-2 in the series. So that's some updates on our East Coast teams. Miss Knicks and Ish. That's so hard to say. I don't know why. Miss Knicks and Ish. Let everybody know where they can support you and the team.
So you can find us on all platforms at Knicks and Ish. So Knicks, the letter N, and then ISH. We generally go on 30 minutes after each game. And then on the off season, it's usually once a week. You can follow me personally on all platforms at Mrs. Knicks, Mrs._Knicks. Definitely come show some love.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, Al, let everybody know where they can find you, my host.
Yo, before that, I just want to say I just followed Miss Knicks and Ish on Twitter. So was that not you, or was that the channel?
That's me. That's me.
Let's go.
Okay. I just followed you. Joe, I'm surprised that you didn't make a video of why Jeremy Sohan is greater than Jordan.
I do have the Sohan video out. The Sohan is the most recent one. I forgot.
Hold up. That reminds me. All right.
Hey, let's go, baby.
Phil got graphic for everything.
Mr. Air Sohan killing it last night.
So Joe, I was watching the game with Phil last night in person. We were watching the game together, and I was going crazy at that. And I'm like, yo, Sohan is going crazy. I'm like, Joe is gonna be on. Listen, I was telling him Joe is gonna come on the channel raving about this dude.
He seriously predicted you being on here tonight talking about Sohan.
Yeah, I totally forgot about it. But yeah, man, 3 minutes, 10 points. You're gonna tell me this guy can score 20 points in a half?
And he
hit
a three. The best thing is he hit a three.
Oh, that reminds me too. I forgot to say this. The Celtics lost to the Sixers 113-97.
Yeah.
We won 126-97. If we didn't put Sohan in the game, that's minus 10 points. We're beating the Hawks just the same way that the Sixers are beating the Celtics. And, with a Jeremy Sohan added into the equation, we're looking a little bit better. So, hopefully Mike Brown sees this and he keeps putting them in that lineup, baby.
All right.
Let's
Good
go.
developments. Ever since he cut his hair, he's been playing better, and his jump shot looks a lot better.
All right,
you can My bad. All right, so you can follow me at Al from Harlem on Twitter, on Instagram, and then also we will be going live Nick Life Crisis on Friday, sometime in the late afternoon. We will be live on this channel and also on the Nick Life Crisis channel. So tune in. Appreciate you guys.
So shout out to everyone in the panel. Shout out to the amazing chat rocking with us all night long. You can follow me on all social media, Knicks_nightcap. And I'm looking forward to next week. Next week's going to be a good one. We got our guy from Cogent Spirits. And this is seriously like luxury whiskey. Like, you spending a lot of money, but it's actually like top notch, hard to find, just beautiful whiskey.
Okay, Phil. Moving on up.
It's going to be incredible. So I'm looking forward to it. Shout out to my guy Drew from Circle City for joining us today. The brand is absolutely incredible. Support them if you are a whiskey fan. I posted the link where you can purchase it throughout the episode. But shout out to my panel. Like, seriously, this is why I do this. Like, not so that I can be known, not so that I can have a whole bunch of people follow and like what I do, but this is why I do it. Connections like this, having a brother in Al that can come out, have a cigar, have some pours as we watch, the game out in my, backyard and just kind of chill.
Love it.
Watching it on a movie screen. My guy Lee Escobedo that I can go to Dallas with and feel like I'm hanging out with an old high school buddy. My homegirl Nixon-ish that we can hang out for 30 minutes at a halftime show. And it's better than hanging out with some of y'all for hours. My guy Tone that I've never hung out with in person, but I'm like, if this guy lived here, I would spend every freaking Friday night hanging out with this dude. My guy Joe that would come over for family dinners if he was out here in Florida with me. This is why I do this. So thank you guys for being part of it. Thank you guys for sharing in this journey. Thank you for your guys' support and love. I appreciate you guys, and anything I can ever do for you guys, please do not hesitate to ask. Everybody that's watching, thanks for the support. We couldn't do this without viewers. What would be the point? It's like a hip-hop concert with nobody in the crowd. That's just weird. Why would I do that? So thank you all in the chat, in the panel, lighting it up, having conversations. If you drank tonight, do me a favor, drink responsibly. Do not get behind the wheel. I always want to make sure that people drink responsibly, because don't be stupid. Like, this is something to be enjoyed, not something to be abused. And that's something that we're always going to push here at the Knicks Nightcap. So until next time, God bless. Hopefully I'll be talking to you guys as we are in the second round of the NBA playoffs and not having to deal with another stupid Hawks game. So until next time, God bless you guys, and we'll talk to you then. Appreciate you.
Let's go, Knicks.
Let's go.
Knicks.
Peace, let's go, Knicks. Peace.
This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no